everyone, and welcome to what's going to be a very exciting chess match here. You may have caught me yesterday doing the commentary on the semi-finals, one of the semi-finals anyway, where Esipenko managed to defeat the second youngest grandmaster of all time, Nordibek of Uzbekistan, to get through to this final. And it went all the way down to the Armageddon game. Can you believe it? So we're now in the final of the Leon Young World Talents competition. Leon in Spain, of course. Also a good film, Leon. Anyone seen the film Leon? Bloody good film, that one. Really good film. Must be up there in one of my top 10 films. About a hitman going around taking people out. Really good film. So it's the final, and it's going to start in 2 minutes. It's 10:30 here in England. The title, I'm afraid, is wrong of the show. We're going to try to get working on that. If you're looking for Botez and Wes, it's probably like 3 a.m. over there, and unfortunately you can't get them on 24-hour commentary. As much as I'm sure some of you would like that, they need to sleep as well. So let's have a quick chat before the games start about these two players who we're going to have live cams of, and you can see they're ready there to start their match. Esipenko and Sarana of Russia, and they're both incredibly strong players. This competition is all about some of the most talented juniors or young players in the world, and it's come down to all Russian final. You can see their rating there. Esipenko is 2682 and Sarana 2654. So incredibly good. Now Sarana is 20 years old, so I don't know if we can call him a junior, but he's a young player, and he seems to make very good strides in improvements recently. He's improved a lot recently. Now he's kind of a late boomer in some ways, because he only became an international master at the age of 16. You could say that's a late boomer, and a grandmaster at the age of 18. So, you know, that's quite late for a lot of people, but he's now 2 years on past that, and his rating is 2654. And he's just sort of on this steep improvement graph. He hasn't really stopped improving. A lot of people stop improving at a certain level. And he beat Nihal Sarin of India to get to this position, which is a very, very good victory. So he's a really strong player. He plays a lot over in Russia and, of course, some other tournaments. His opponent, Esipenko, is incredibly talented player. He's being tipped as one of the future champions. By the way, the games are going to start, so I think we better get ready for that. He's World Under 16 chess champion, and he got through yesterday with some fantastic play. So, well, they're both great players, and Esipenko has the white pieces here. Yeah, I mean, they're both really, really incredible players. I mean, it's amazing how strong players can become at such a young age now. I mean, they are really, you know, and they're still improving. That's the thing. I mean, how strong are these guys going to get? I mean, you know, could they become world champions, or could they come in the elite 10 of the world? Quite possibly. Why not? So in the first game, we have Esipenko with the white pieces, and he normally plays d4, and we have the Queen's Gambit declined here, and this is an opening which is very traditional opening. It's probably the most traditional opening. Bishop f4 is now the modern way to play this position. You used to put your bishop on g5. Now, to remind you of the time control, which is just below my camera here, so you know, if you can read, you're probably okay there. It's 4 games of 20-minute chess plus 10 seconds to move, and that makes it a rapid tournament. I prefer that to blitz. I think you've got a higher standard of play. We can talk about the ideas a little bit more, and the players can have a chance to calculate their moves. So it's a much much better idea. Now, I don't know if we're going to get an interview in after the game, but we're a long way off that part yet. I don't plan to do an interview. There might be one on the Spanish channel, for those of you who are wondering about that. And this is one of the main lines nowadays. This position that we're seeing here is becoming very popular. Now, I will quickly talk a bit about this because I play this opening with white as well. So let me just do the opening run up so you know what's going on. Now, they're not streaming, I'm streaming, in case you didn't notice. I am keeping an eye on the chat on twitch.tv chess, so you know, hello. And it starts off okay with this Queen's Gambit. This is one of the oldest openings in chess and one of the most popular, Alekhine, dating back to the world champions of the early 1900s were playing this even. And now bishop to e7 is a bit of a crafty move order, just so you learn the opening, because if you go knight to f6 here, which is what black used to play, white has the added option of capturing here and going bishop g5. And this doesn't commit the knight on g1, and the subtle point of this opening play, demonstrated by Yusupov and other players, is that after some more natural developing moves, it's all about this knight, and this knight can develop to e2. Why is this a good idea? So that you can play f3 and e4, supporting the advance in the center. So it was then found, and we will catch up with the game shortly, that bishop to e7 was a more accurate move order, because if now white takes here, you can't get your knight to e2 easily because the bishop can't come here. There's no good waiting move here, and that means after knight to f3, a standard move, knight to f6, you can now see if white tries to do the same thing, you don't have this plan of f3 and e4 getting a very strong pawn center. So instead of that, bishop f4 is now the modern line. Now, going back 100 years, the more traditional line is bishop to g5. Yeah, this is the final of the Lyon Young Masters competition, if you're wondering what it is. And the winner of this goes through to play next year in the main event, which is a really big thing. This is the old main line, but nowadays, probably since last 20 years, and Kasparov actually did a DVD on ChessBase with this move, this has become more popular, and this is nearly always seen in this variation at top level now. And after castles, e3, now knight bd7 is again the main move. Now, just to let you know, you can get a variation where you push Harry here, and the Harry variation is c5, and this used to be the main line. I'm just giving you a little opening lesson how theory develops. We'll catch up with the game very shortly. And after c5, the reason black stopped playing this is because you take on c5, and then bishop takes, queen c2, knight c6, a3, stopping a knight coming there, queen a5, and this used to be a main line. But then it was, first of all, I think someone like Spielman, English grandmaster who got to the semi-final of the World Championships, started playing this crazy move. And the idea is to push Harry, get the knight here, and checkmate on h7. And I've used this to win many games. For example, one of the main lines here is bishop e7, h4, come on Harry, and after a6, knight g5. And I've won a number of games by some line like b5, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, knight takes d5, and all of a sudden black is getting checkmated on h7, because if knight takes d5, this is checkmate. Another thing to bear in mind in this variation, if black ever plays h6, he's not really threatening to take the knight. You can take here. If he takes the knight, you take back with the h-pawn, and you're flying into h7. So this is a crazy variation. Now, that is why in this position here, black stopped playing c5 and now plays knight bd7. And the point of this move is, if white does the same thing and takes on c5, black can take the knight, and black has a very good control of e4. So this is how theory has developed in this opening variation. So after knight bd7, c5 is now one of the main lines, but black has a couple of ways to, it looks at the moment, equalize in this position. Instead here, Esipenko decides to keep it a little bit more fluid with bishop e2. And only now does black take on c4 because he wins a tempo, or he's trying to win a tempo. But I like the way white's playing this. He's not grabbing that pawn straight away. He castles. Black now goes a6, trying to guard that pawn. White stops b5, and now black plays c5, this normal break. And white now keeps it very simple here by taking on c5. And after knight takes c5, bishop takes c4. And this is the current position. Now, this is a way that people are trying to play this variation nowadays and prove an advantage for white. So in the chat there, hello to everyone in the chat, by the way. Hello to you all. I hope you're all doing okay. What is white trying to rely his advantage on here? How does white maybe have an advantage in this position? There's one thing in this position that tries to give white an edge. He's going to be the first person in the Twitch chat to look at this. Now, I am keeping an eye on the Twitch chat. By the way, we are trying to change the title of the show, obviously. It's not Queen E2 and Rook D1. I want to look at the pieces. Which piece is maybe better? No one's got the right answer. Why is white trying to claim an advantage in this position? Look at the pieces. Look at all the pieces. Does anyone have a problem piece? Yeah, I mean, Bick is working for chess.com, so am I, but we can't change the title of the show. Neither of us have permission to do that. But don't worry. You can just pretend I'm Robert Hess and Botez morphed into one with a ginger beard commentating on a different tournament. That just sounds weird, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. Well, you could say the white bishop leading development. What piece in particular? What piece? No one's really got this right yet. Name a problem piece that black has. I'm giving you a clue. What is the problem piece? Yes, IBEB3N. This bishop on c8 is the reason that white tries to have an advantage. Because if you look at white's bishops, they're both much more active. The bishop on c8, and you get this in London systems, you get this in a lot of openings for black, is stuck behind these pawns. It's a really bad piece. So the one advantage that white is trying to do... Hello, Stelly. You said it ages ago. Well, I'm sorry if I miss your comments. I only have one or two eyes, and they can't always see everything. But this bishop here is the problem piece. Now, you can't go b6, as someone has suggested. Ooh, and bishop b7. Not a very good suggestion, Musayo, because of knight c6, and you lose your queen. Oh dear, oh dear. So it's not that easy. It's not that easy actually to get that bishop out. So this is what white's relying on. White's relying on the advantage of his pieces being better and this bishop getting in the way of the rook and a slight advantage in structure here. Now, it's not that bad for black, because if black can ever get the bishop out, black is okay. But the problem is, if he ever tries to get the bishop out, worst case scenario, white can take that bishop, get the advantage of the two bishops. So it's not so easy for black to get complete equality. Obviously, the pawn structure is quite equal. This knight move is a very good move. Okay, so now black is trying to exchange off. He's trying to exchange off pieces. So the more exchanges he makes, I guess as black in this position, you're kind of playing for equality. You're kind of playing for a draw. And he's trying to just exchange off this very nice knight. If you can exchange off this knight, his bishop will try to get to c6. If you put the bishop on c6 in a lot of positions, then black is at least equal. You could even say that a4 is a little weakness for white, because black has the b4 square. Black's queen can maybe come into this square, attacking some things. So you could say the only problem is this piece. Now, what can white do here? What can white do here? Because white has the development advantage now. Now, Stelly is suggesting a very interesting idea. Queen g4. This indeed looks very logical, with some ideas against here. But I'm assuming after this, black, another way black can try to get this bishop out is by playing f6 and maybe this. You can't do that here because of the bishop. So let's have a look. Queen g4, and now maybe black can take this knight off. That knight is a very strong piece, and after this move, threatening checkmate, can black play f6? Well, maybe white has an advantage here with bishop d4, because you're threatening to take the knight is defending the pawn, and then win the pawn on that square. And it's not easy to see what black plays here because this pawn is pinned. So I agree that this queen g4 is certainly a very interesting move. It's the kind of move I would play, but instead white plays queen e2. Okay, I mean, this is a much more normal square for the queen because the queen sort of keeps a bit of control over here. Maybe now queen b4 is not a threat because the bishop is always defended. It's a very natural square for the queen here. Centralized, white's just connecting his rooks here, and white will aim to just put his rooks in the center of the board as so, with pretty nice position. So this is the final. I should probably put that in the title somewhere when I get a chance. Man, let me add it in now. Let me do a bit of editing magic. It's only me doing the whole stream today in editing. Well, I've got some help by the chess.com guys, but we will try to put it in. Yes, the stream title is confusing, but everyone in America is asleep. So there's nothing we can do about it, I'm afraid. We don't have any permissions to change the title. So I think it's quite clear when you load the video up that I am not Bo Tez or Robert Hess. So I think you guys, you know, you're chess players, surely you can work that out. Surely you can see that I'm not one of those two. You know, surely you can see that. And you can probably also tell that the players are not women either. I mean, that's also quite clear to see. So the tournament here is the Young World Talents final. Look at that editing skill. Okay, so we have a couple more moves on the board. Black has just taken that one off, got rid of a piece there, and now bishop takes e5. And can black now just play bishop to this square? If he can do that, then black should have no problems with the position. So if the bishop gets that square, black is going to be equal, isn't he? He's going to be equal. Going to be equal in this position. So let's have a look. So while we wait for black to move, is there any problems with this move? How is white going to try to keep some pressure on this position? He can't go b4 here, can he? It's a crazy idea. Can he go b4? Look at this for an idea. Okay, how about b4? This is interesting. And now if queen takes b4, the queen wants to retreat. And what if I go a5 now? It's just an idea. My idea is to go rook here next move, and the black queen is trapped. So if black plays bishop c6, then he will probably be losing after rook b1. That black queen is trapped now. It's trapped. I'm sorry, I need my coffee hits. So if I have the odd swig now and again, I'm just getting my caffeine in, so my energy levels are high. It's a lot of commentary today for one mere man, but I'll do my best. And this move traps the queen. So this is an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know if it works. You have to take it, and now a5, and the only move here that black might be able to, actually maybe it does work. What does black do here? I don't see how black gets out of the way. Well, you say move the knight. I think you have to be a little bit more specific than that. What are you going to do? Move it to d3? Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. I'll take that one. Cheers. Thank you. There's only one square you can move the knight to, and that's also a terrible square because I just moved one of my rooks to b1 again. And okay, I might not win the queen here, but winning the knight is not so shabby either. So I think that is also good. So maybe as Shaking Saya, sorry if I pronounce your names wrong. Pronunciation is my biggest weakness. Being dyslexic, it doesn't help. And bishop b5 might be the only way to play this one. So, but this is, I mean, worst case scenario here as white, I can get my pawn back and have the two bishops by just doing. Oh no, I can't because you're taking on a5. So there's quite a lot to think about here. Let's just go back and see if any moves have been played. Okay, so black did not play the bishop to this square. He played rook to d8. And now that the rook has moved here, quite interesting moves this again. Why not b4 here? Could he have played b4? Isn't b4 even stronger now? What about b4 now? He didn't play b4, but I'm just wondering after queen takes a5 why he didn't play this, because now black no longer has bishop to this square. So how do you stop rook b1? What am I missing? Is it because you can go knight d7 now? Is this the difference? But this is very passive for black. Maybe this is okay because the queen is coming here. I don't know. It's a very complicated position. Let's keep up with the game. It was an interesting idea there. And now he goes for this idea that you mentioned in the chat, queen g4. And I guess what white is saying is that he rather the rook is here away from the defense of the king than it is on f8. f6 played. Now the bishop I thought maybe could come to d4 here to attack the knight, but it simply comes back to g3 and now king to h8. And my basic thoughts about this position is that if white does not have a good move now, black is ready to play e5, and then all of a sudden this bishop comes to life. This is the other idea I was going to say, how you get the bishop out. One idea is to put it on c6, and the other idea is to play e5 and to attack the queen like this. So I'm wondering how white plays this position, because this move seems to be okay for black here. If black can play e5 and then maybe just put the bishop on e6, you know, just start swapping off some pieces. I don't think rook d1 really helps. I don't see why this helps. This is the kind of, I mean, it's not a bad move, but it's not a great move either, because I just go e5. I mean, yeah, you put your rook on an open file, but it doesn't stop the plan. So is there something better that white can do? I mean, I really want to do something about this. What about like f4? If I was white here, I would certainly consider playing f4. And the possibility here is if e5, now I go f5. This is my idea. I'm trying to play against this bishop and stop the bishop coming out. Hello Blair in the chat. Did the computer suggest my move b4? Am I not a washed up GM yet? It's good to show these youngsters a trick or two. You know, flicking the b4 idea. I'm not using a computer myself to analyze here. That'd be far too complicated. This is an interesting idea. f4 to try and stop the development of this bishop, and also this is a very dangerous attacking position. One way you can try to win this one is to swing the rook down to h7. Can you imagine that? King takes and then queen h5 checkmate. I've won a lot of games like that. So let's have a look. What's he going to play? He didn't play this. Instead he goes to rook to b1. I think they're waking up a little bit, aren't they? They both got football tops on, is that right? They both got football tops on at the moment, it looks like. Now, I can see that Esipenko has an Arsenal top. That is a North London football team. I think it's North London, I hope I got that right. And I'm not really a football guy, I'm sorry. But what football top has Sarana got on? What football top is that? Anyone know? There should be a prize to recognise the football top. That looks like a football top to me. Do you reckon it's a Russian team? Anyone know? They're both supporting their football teams here. Interesting. Okay, so this is an interesting move because of course now b4 is coming. So what does black now play here? So white maybe still has a little bit of pressure in this position. A little bit of pressure at the moment. Well, this move looks like a good start. Let's put the pawn there, attacking the queen. And now, where does the queen move? h4 or h5? Which one of these two squares? I'm thinking I'd like to come here, maybe even into f7, but the problem with this is maybe the queen can now come to b4 and I'm attacking the bishop. And now, can you go bishop f7? This could get very interesting in the position with bishop to g6 as an idea in this position. Both players are Russian. We did a little chat about the players earlier on. They're both very strong Russian young players. I mean, potentially future world champions. I know more about Esipenko. He's been tipped as a real talent, one of the most talented juniors, young players around. Sarana is an up and coming player who, well, I say up and coming. I mean, he's 20 years old, and if you look at his rating is 2654. So he's hardly that up and coming. he's really quite good, but he's still improving. The time limit is below my camera, just in case you can't read. It is 20 minutes plus 10 seconds a move after each move. And now black is thinking what to do after this idea, rook b1, just trying to go b4. And they both have about 11 minutes left. Now their ages, Sarana is 20 years old, so the player at the bottom with the black pieces, 20 years old, and Esipenko is 18 years old. So they're sort of at the end of their junior life. Okay, so this is a very natural move, isn't it? Put the queen here first, because now you're stopping the queen coming to h5. So this idea of playing e5 is a real possibility, and this certainly looks like one of the better moves, trying to stop a pawn coming to, you know, trying to take advantage of this b4 square, So what can be played now? Bishop e6 does not work. You're trying to use this for two reasons: either queen takes queen and I'm going to win a piece, or knight takes queen and I'm going to win a piece. So you can't, these guys don't blunder that easily. I mean, that's the kind of blunder that I would do. They don't just drop pawns like that. No. These guys are too good to do that. I say that, and they're probably going to drop a pawn next move. So we will see. What do we play here then for white? My first thought is, can we play knight a2? Because this queen is really annoying. So this is my first thought. And now after queen takes a4, do we have a good move here? You know, trying to take advantage of something like b4, for example. Let's go b4. And now the knight has to move. Well, you can always play e5. It's getting quite tactical, this position. e5, I'll go queen h4 or here. So maybe you go e5 and knight e6. This might be best. Let's try this one now. A counter-attack on the queen in this position. And where does the queen go? One of these two squares. I'm not sure which is the correct one. I'll put it on h4 for now. And I think at some point this knight has to move. And it doesn't have many squares. That's why I'm going for this pawn sacrifice. And maybe somewhere like here. But now the pieces are still a bit funny. And do I have an idea of bringing the knight into this square, claiming compensation? I don't think so. I don't think white has enough compensation. The black queen can come back here. Black is quite solid in this position. So I don't think this is enough compensation here for white, for the pawn, unless I'm missing some tactic here. It's the kind of thing you would have to analyze, and you'd want to analyze as white, because of course if this works it keeps an advantage, keeps the pressure on. But I don't know what white can play here, so I can't see any possibility here for white. I mean, you know, I'm trying to make this move work, attacking the queen, but the queen just comes all the way back. And I can come in here claiming a little bit of compensation because you have some holes like this hole, but I don't think it's enough. I mean, I think black should be okay here. Because this bishop, the problem of putting the bishop on g3 in these variations, if we go back, the problem with putting the bishop here is that when black plays e5, it's white who has the bad piece. And I've fallen for this kind of positional idea as well. So in that last variation, I mean, let's just put another variation on the board. Let's say, I don't know, I play a move just like h3. You play e5, your bishop comes out, I have to move my queen. I move it here because I need to defend that one. And now, if you compare the pieces, well, this bishop here is actually a really bad piece because it's stuck behind these 3 pawns. Yes, white has this nice bishop on c4, but black can easily get rid of that, something like bishop e6, and all of a sudden, positionally, you know, if you start exchanging pieces as white here, white is just worse, because this kind of ending is worse because your bishop is absolutely useless here. You know, you can't use this piece, and black's bishop is active, the knight is active, and the rook is also good even in this one. So you have to be a little bit careful positionally, Esipenko, that he doesn't allow this bishop to become a useless piece. That's why as white here, I'm trying to provoke some tactics. Now the other idea is this move. What about I go here first and then knight a2? This is a much better way of playing. The other idea, there is one more idea, if we're thinking positionally, the other idea is to go bishop c7. Because if I go bishop c7, you play e5, we can see the difference. My bishop is now in a better square. I go queen h4, and now black has to make a decision whether to attack the bishop or come into the 7th rank. But now my bishop's a lot better, and it even takes away some of the queen escape squares. Am I threatening knight here? No, I'm not. So let's say rook to d7. This may look very strong. Oh, I'm trapping the queen. Yeah. But then he just goes, no, you're not trapping the queen. Tactics. Look at all these tactics. Lots of tactics in this position. And all of a sudden, I can't take the rook back because I lose my queen. So after rook d7, I want to try and trap the queen somehow. Can I do it again with this move? I don't think so. You've always got queen here. I don't see how I'm going to trap that queen in this position. And my bishop is actually now trapped. So you can see a lot of little tactics here. A lot of little tactics. Very, very interesting position. And I think black is better if this position happens. So we have another move. Let's go back to the game. See what was played. Well, knight a2 was played. Good. Good to know that I've still got it, guys. I'm still getting the moves. Because I think white has to try and do something, because if white doesn't do something, then he's going to get in trouble. So let's have a look. So it went the way we looked at. Queen takes a4, b4, and now I thought e5 was playable, but is there something else that can be played here? Because if you don't go e5, your knight has no real good squares. You can come to d3, but then you're going to lose the e6 pawn, worst case scenario. I mean, I can win this pawn, yeah? So I want to play, in the current position with the black pieces, I want to play this move. Gain a tempo here. So what's white's idea now? Well, maybe this is a better square. This is a more aggressive square, because in a lot of positions here, we can try to move the bishop into g6. For example, this kind of idea. So this is a much more aggressive square, and the other idea is if you go g6 yourself, what I'm trying to do, often making pawn moves in front of your king, so black making this move g6 in front of your king, you could say that making pawn moves in front of your king weakens your king. It weakens squares around your king. So I could try to claim that after queen h6, black has weakened his king, but I don't think it's a real problem. Because black even has maybe something like this. This is getting very interesting now. And now queen h4, and now I gain a tempo on the pawn. And you can see now how inducing this pawn move has maybe weakened the king position. So it's a very interesting position so far. Let's keep up with the game though. I'm just showing you some ideas that they might be thinking, but we have some more moves. Now e5, okay, so white goes for a totally different plan, a move I did not expect. I thought he'd keep the queen somewhere near the black king, but he drops it back simply to f3. I suppose the idea of this one is to keep pressure against the pawn on b7. So if the bishop moves at the wrong time, we can take on b7. Black has moved his knight back to e6, as we said, and we had a position similar to this, but I was struggling to find the correct move for white when I looked at this earlier. We were having a look at maybe bring the knight into d5, in this structure. Now black is a pawn up. Let's not forget this. Black is a pawn up, and he's just played h4. Whoa! Come on, let me hear you now. Let me hear you now. Harry, 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 Harry. Can I? I'm just trying to find the Harry emote. I'm trying to find the Harry emote. Is it there? Is it there? Yeah, there we go. I had to post that into the Twitch chat there. That is the h4. h4. Okay, and he's going h4. Now, wow. So he's playing this quite risky, but he's stopping knight there. Black, of course, trying to swap the queens off, because there is a little bit of danger. I mean, development-wise, who is better here? Who is better? Development-wise, white's better, and he's now gone into the ending. Okay, so black's a pawn up in this ending. These two pawns, though, are weak. This is kind of what white is playing against. He's playing against these two pawns. Black comes back to try and consolidate, put his knight on this square. White's also got this bad bishop here. I don't know. Maybe white has enough compensation. I'm a little bit disappointed to see the queens come off. I have to admit, you know, it's not my happiest hour. I'd rather those guys stayed on the board. But okay, it happens sometimes, doesn't it? Has white got enough compensation here for the pawn? Time limit. Esipenko is now down to 6 minutes. Remember, it is a rapid play game. The timing is very important in this position. I think white probably has just about enough compensation, because like I mentioned, he has pressure against this one. Maybe the knight can slip into this nice square. I'm a little bit concerned still about the bishop on g3. I might even consider playing f4 here to try and get this bishop out, and he has played f4. Me and Esipenko, we're like this. We're going to lose this game together with our ideas, and this is just a way to try and get your pieces out. I mean, I don't think it's too bad for white, but I don't feel that white should be better. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. This is a hard one to assess. Does white have enough compensation for the pawn? So he's got his bishop in the game now, but by doing this, he has weakened his own pawn structure. The pawn on e3 is now weak. Black is a pawn up. Now, you know, basically, in this mini match, it's 4 games of rapid chess, and 4 games of rapid chess. If you lose the first game with white, and white's, you know, drawing with black is a pretty good result. If you lose the first game with white, it's pretty bad, you know. It's quite hard to come back from that sometimes. So Esipenko is taking quite a lot of risk by sacrificing the pawn there. Brave play. Now let's consider what black can do. So there is a threat to the knight, so you can't play the bishop here because you're just losing. Bishop takes c7, and now white should be winning this position. I've just won a piece. So you need to always look at your opponent's last move. The biggest mistake that beginners make is not looking at their opponent's moves. It's so obvious. You know, let's imagine you're going for a walk, you know, and you're going for a walk down the road or something. You live in, I don't know, London or New York, and you're going for a walk down the road. You'd look at the cars, wouldn't you? You know, if you're crossing the road, you wouldn't cross the road like this. You know, I mean, you wouldn't. Well, if you did, you wouldn't last for long. You'd cross the road and you'd look for the cars. It's what you got to do in chess. You know, don't cross the road blindfolded. You're not going to last long. You know, there comes that taxi taking you down, and it's not a pleasant sight, is it? So, you know, you've got to keep your eyes open and look at your opponent's last move. And this is the last move, and it's the first thing that beginners should learn. You know, look at your opponent's last move and see what their idea is. You know, and try to work out what your opponent's trying to do. Beginners, they just don't do this. Okay, so now we have knight here, and this is interesting because black is offering a pawn back, I think. For example, now if I take on b5, you take here, I can take here. Or maybe not, actually, because you can't take here because I will win your rook. But what you can now do is play bishop to f5, and this is a very, very useful move in the position. And the problem with this for white is you're defending the rook, you're attacking this one, and black is winning here. Black is winning. Black is winning in this position. So I'm starting to think, if you can't win this pawn, it's looking a little bit dodgy for Esipenko. His time, 4:47. This is the first game of 4, so there's always time to come back. Always time to come back, but this is now a really nice knight here, yeah? Black is gonna play bishop f5. Black is gonna complete his development. Black is a pawn up. Doesn't look great for white. I think this h4 move, am I gonna actually criticize h4? I don't think I've ever criticized h4 in my life. I think it's always a good move, but maybe in this position it's not. Can you believe it? So what does white play here? He's got to do something, and he can't win the pawn here, as we've just shown, because bishop f5. The same tactic goes if you try to take the knight here. I don't think anything changes because of bishop f5 attacking the rook. This looks the same. I don't see, and again the problem here is you move your rook. I just take here, piece up. If you move your knight, can you play this one? Is this a tactic you can play to try and get out of this? I don't really believe this somehow well, I mean, you might not be winning a piece of black, but worst case scenario, you can take here, white takes here. It's getting quite complex, but now I just move my bishop and I keep the threat against your knight. And if your knight moves somewhere, I can take here. Maybe you can take here. Oh no, you can't take there because you're running into a pin maybe. Very complicated. There's loads of little tactics going on. So let's have a look. What's he played? Well, he's played knight takes, and he's played bishop takes b5. Bishop f5 played. What's his idea? Is it bishop c6? I assume white was losing after this move, because there's 2 threats. Threat to the bishop, threat to the rook. White's idea must be something tactical like bishop c6 there. Otherwise white's just lost. Otherwise white is lost, which would be a horrible way to start the match. All of a sudden black has 2 big threats, so he must play bishop to c6. He only has 2.5 minutes left. I really think white is trying to hang on here. There's no move except for bishop c6, but he's got to move soon. He's down 5 minutes on the clock, and if you play here, well, black is certainly not worse, isn't it? I mean, black must be doing well here somehow, or is he not? I don't know. Is it just okay? Is it okay for is white okay in this position? Is white okay? Maybe white is just about okay here. Let's say I go bishop takes here, you go bishop takes here. It looks like Esipenko's video feed has gone walkies. He's had enough. Oh no, it's not a good time to disconnect. Look at his time. Look at his time. He's got under 2 minutes and he's disconnected. Don't do that. Don't disconnect at this moment in time. Oh my words. He's doing his dial up now. Oh my words. He's getting that internet back on. Mum, turn the router on. Mum, the router's not working. Plug it, take it out, plug it back in. I've got 1 minute before I lose. Oh dear. Oh dear. Get that router go. He's back. Whew. Oh, luckily the router just worked. But he's back. He's played bishop c6, but he lost. Look at his head. He's shaking his head there. That was not a good time for the router to go down. Oh dear. Mum, make sure you stop playing around with the router. I'm playing a chess match here. Don't you know this is a young world talents final? I need the internet. Oh dear. Okay, he's back on. He's back on. All good. All good. And now what does black play here? So I mean, black is in no danger of losing this one. For example, black can take here. We were looking at this line, take here, and if I take here, white takes here, this looks pretty even to me. I don't think this is just even, so it could end up in a draw. But what I'm thinking about as black is take here, and now move my bishop. So let's say I go bishop c6. I'm still threatening your bishop here. When white has two moves, but maybe the simplest is bishop b7, threatening here. And now, again, it's looking quite drawish. After bishop takes b4, oh no, maybe you can't take here because of rook a8. Very complex position. And now I play rook a8. Is black winning because of the pin? Maybe black is, oh, I don't know. Maybe white can play rook to a4, a new threat on the bishop. And then if the bishop moves to c5, I play bishop to b5, and just defending my rook in time. And this looks like a draw because I don't think black has anything better than taking the rook off. So maybe, just maybe, what did he play? He played rook c8. Okay, let's go back. He did not take here because those lines were looking equal. He played rook c8, and now, because there's a threat to these two guys, e4, and now rook takes c6, pawn takes f5. So it's equal on material, but black has two rooks on the open file, and he has a bishop attacking b4, and he has a time advantage. White only has a minute and 44 seconds. A minute and 44 seconds left. So, so, oh, have I got, okay, yeah, I've got the videos the wrong way. Oh yeah, right, you're right. Okay, thanks for shouting. Cog has got it. I do have the cameras the wrong way around. Ah, the show was going so well. I thought I had everything perfect. Good production value, nice video camera, nice forest, lovely board. Even had the time controls. But no, I had to make a mistake. I had to have the cameras the wrong way round. Just typical. Just typical. Okay. We learn. So that is not actually Esipenko. What happened there? Why did the cameras suddenly change? Was that me? Or was that them? Is that because he reconnected? I think they're just trying to play with me. I'm sure it was right before. Okay, I'll change them around, guys. Thank you for pointing that out. It wasn't actually my mistake then. And the position is getting critical, so we'll just try to do a little bit of camera maneuvering. Not as easy as it looks, this. And we will try. Down you come. Can you not disconnect any more, please, Esipenko? You know, you're making my job that little bit harder. There's no need, is there? There's no need. There is no need. Yes, we have to blame it on Esipenko's mum. No more playing with the internet. Okay, so now b5 played, and it's getting very, very critical. White is trying to get rid of the pawn. White is trying to draw. You know, if you can get rid of these two pawns, there's not enough material to draw. So black has come in, attacking the bishop, and now defending. And this looks like it should be a draw, unless black can get the rooks onto the second rank. But it's very hard to get this rook down to here because the bishop is defending it. So I think Esipenko now swapping off a pair of rooks. Very nice defensive play from Esipenko. I was getting scared there, but he found a nice tactical way out of trouble. And this is why, even in games like this, where things look pretty positional, as they do, things look pretty positional, that it's good to swap off. You know, it's good to have those that tactical awareness, because even in the most positional games, if you can't use your tactics, and if we go back to the position, let's go back to this position here where Esipenko took on b5, this was showing some great tactical awareness. And the current position now, after more exchanges, well, it should be a draw. It should be a draw because they've both got 3 pawns on the same side of the board, making it a draw. on this side of the board. So Esipenko coming back, bishop here, and now the one chance black has is to win the pawn on f5. This is the only weak pawn. Esipenko with white has been struggling a bit throughout this game. It should be a draw. Black is still better. Why is black better? Because he's got the rook controlling the 7th rank. White has one weak pawn, but it should of course be a draw here. This should be a draw. Should be a draw. So here we go. Let's just see. Again, the time thing, I can understand why black's playing on because of the time situation, but probably if white just, okay, now white's defending the pawn, attacking the rook, this must be a draw very soon. And they can play on, but there's not much need to play on in this position. It means I can drink more coffee. I'll let you know if a draw offer comes. There's no way, I mean, black would need to get the king to one of these two squares to do this, but how does the black king ever get across this rook? It never gets across the rook. You know, the black king has no way to get to these two squares. And white is now, he just has to watch out for this pawn. If black can ever come round like this, then you lose the pawn and you've got to start defending again. The way you draw this, you don't have to do much as long as you don't lose this pawn. Keep your rook on this file so the black king can't come up the board. So you want to have a force field on this file. Keep defending that pawn and you wait. It's more important, how does black win this position? Black can't really win this position. There's no way black can win this position. I mean, white can even just go king here, king here. Just, you know, okay, well this is okay, but you don't want to start allowing this king out, so probably just move it back. There we go, he's moved it back. Easy to draw. Easy to draw. Maybe, I'll tell you what, maybe Sarana is waiting for another disconnection. Maybe he saw that disconnection. He thought, well, if I play on, there is a chance that Esipenko is going to get internet problems. I doubt that's the thing. I'd really like not to think that. I really like to not think he's waiting, because they should really agree a draw here, I feel. I mean, there's nothing that can be done. Now, okay, so white's now even bringing his king over this way. You know, I would probably even go rook here, and don't go rook d2 now, as long as you don't blunder. I mean, this is the kind of move you might want to play, but there's two reasons this was a mistake. Number one, rook c5. For example, if I ever play, rook d2, this is the kind of thing that white needs to avoid, because suddenly he's losing this pawn. Suddenly he's losing the f5 pawn. So in this position, okay, now the bishops are coming off. This should be an easy draw. You just put your king. Very easy draw. And you can even take the rook off, but keeping the rooks on the board keeps it even more possible. Even more possible to draw this. So not much to report here. You can just keep checking the king, and they're going to agree a draw now, definitely. So okay, so the first game, it is a draw, and you can see I will be updating the scores as we go. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break in between each round. Only a couple of minutes break, so don't go anywhere. The games are pretty much one after another in today's event, so if you go away too long, then you'll miss all the action. But I'm going to have a break. I'm going to get myself another coffee. Solid, good draw there. It actually looked that Sarana had the pressure. He had quite a lot of pressure, Sarana, with the black pieces. But Esipenko very cleverly, and this was really clever. This shows you the key moment, I feel, was around about here, where white is under a lot of pressure being a pawn down, and it looks very dangerous to grab this pawn, but white grabs the pawn, and after bishop here, which I thought was losing, he showed that he can see a little bit further, and often to be a top chess player you have to see that little bit further, and after bishop c6 the game ended in a draw. Good game to start us off. So I'll be back again soon. and I'll just have a little break. See you all in a second or two. Right, so we're back, and the next game I think is due to start any second now. You can see they had a solid draw there in round one. Well, I say solid draw, it was a very interesting draw. And now we have Sarana with the white pieces. So we can see they're ready on the player cam to start the next game. And we're off. I'm assuming the ratings they're using here is their chess.com ratings. Is that right? I don't know, because if we look at their ratings, okay, you can see Sarana is 2618 and he's actually 2618 here, but I don't think Esipenko is 2864 FIDE. Otherwise he'd be challenging Magnus Carlsen, which he may well do in a couple of years, but not at the moment. We had the London system. Okay, one of my favorite openings. The London system is generally where you put your bishop on f4. So we have bishop f4. I'm sure a lot of you in the chat like the London system, e6. And it's called the London system. Does anyone know why it's called the London system without Googling? No Googling allowed. No Googling. I think it originates from a big international tournament played in London. I think in 1922. Have I got that right? 1922. Is that right? And they all started playing this pawn formation, like setting up a pyramid like this and putting their bishop on f4. And lots of people in that competition played that. And I think it was 1922 London International, and hence 100 years later it's had this second wind of popularity. Now Esipenko is playing one of the main lines, bishop g3, quite normal. Now queen c7 is actually like a very modern way to play, and the only way white can play this now, because I've done a lot of work on this, is by taking on c5. This is the only way to try and get an advantage of white, because black's idea is to put the knight onto d7 and keep control of c6, and this is like a modern way of playing. Now when I did my analysis on this, I came to the conclusion that if white takes on c5, black has to take back and now plays bishop to d3 and e4 next move, then you can get an advantage, because knight c6 now loses for black because of knight b3, and the queen cannot defend the bishop. So when the queen moves, not there, but you get the idea there, we take the bishop. So the way, when I looked at this, you have to go queen takes, bishop d3, put the knight here, and then I thought this move gives white an advantage. If black takes here, because you're threatening to win a piece with e5, you go bishop takes. This is the key move. Have they actually played this? No, they haven't. So this is my research came to the conclusion that in this position you play bishop takes, and white is better, because again, like the last game, you're playing against the bishop on c8. The bishop on c8. This is the idea in the system. So instead, white has played knight e5. Now, I don't believe this is supposed to give white any advantage. Like I said, I know this opening very well, having done a lot of work on it, because you probably have to play f4. And the problem with playing f4 is you give control of the e4 square, and there's often a maneuver like this: knight here, knight here, knight here, knight here, knight here, believe it or not. And there's a very famous game, Michael Adams versus Sergei Karyakin, and Sergei Karyakin with the black pieces won with this maneuver against Mickey Adams's London system. And these are kind of ideas you need to know in order to really improve your game, you know, to become a master in the openings and middle game. You can buy this by buying my DVDs, of course, or by looking at the chess.com premium videos. That's a good way. So Blue Orlick is saying the London system was named after the tournament in 1922. Capablanca, Alekhine, Rubinstein played. James Mason played the London system in 1882 before it was named the London system. Well, James Mason, I believe, was from Kilkenny in Ireland, even though he was an Irish international, and he was world #1 around the end of the 1800s. Yeah, he was a very strong player. He invented an ending system. My friend Gary O'Grady, I don't know if he's listening, actually plays a lot, but James Mason was a bit of a legend in chess, originating in Kilkenny in Ireland, and being rising to world #1, an Irish world #1 in chess, something you wouldn't really expect nowadays, unfortunately. So he was a legendary player. He also, there's records of James Mason. He was arrested on numerous occasions. So I'm giving you a little bit of a history lesson here. But James Mason was arrested. He moved to London and he was arrested for many alcohol related things. But he had a very interesting life, traveling the world, playing great chess, and really being a very exciting chess player. So there you go. Okay, so let's have a look at the way it went. So it went knight e5. Now, if I was black here, I would have been thinking about playing knight d7 to try and do something at knight. Now, I did say this knight maneuver is often played, but I don't want this knight to remain here. Instead, black plays with an idea of getting rid of white's best piece. White's best piece is the bishop on f1. This is white's best piece because his pawns are on dark squares, meaning that the light square bishop is very good, especially at sort of attacking h7. So he does go here, and now black is able to get rid of that bishop. White castles, this knight is out of play, so black brings the knight back into play to try and get rid of this one, and now rook e1. So this is quite a strange idea. Is the idea to capture, and play e4. This would be one way of playing. And it just depends in these positions if white can get a small edge or if it's completely equal. I would imagine this is looking pretty equal to me. I mean, you can either play, the two ways you either play f4 or you start making exchanges. So when I mean exchanges, you take here. Now you probably take here, and then you take here, and maybe queen takes. Then you play this move, but this looks dead equal to me. There's no way after all these exchanges that white can have much of an edge here. The only way is to get this file, but now black plays rook d8 first. So he has gone for this, he's taken it. Okay, slightly different. Black decides to take on g3, and now black takes on c6. This should be equal. This should be equal. Should be an equal position. And remember, if you're black, getting an equal position at this level is very good. These guys, you know, two of the best young players in the world. And I don't see why white should have any advantage. Again, if white wants to take and go e4, he can, but that would be very equal again. There's not really many plans that white has in such positions. I mean, you could try this idea. One crazy idea, he has played it, is to go g3, king g2, rook h1. But I'm not sure why the rook has gone to e1. I mean, okay, white's not worse here. White is not worse, but does white have any advantage? I don't think so. One of the reasons the London system is becoming very popular is because of Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen has started to play the London system. He's beating everyone in the London system. Hence why players like Sarana and other top players in the world are starting to take the London system more seriously. Probably the best ever player in the London system, or one of the guys with a lot of history apart from Magnus, is Gatakamsky. So if you want to learn more about the London system, have a look at the games of Gatakamsky. Now, what are both sides trying to do? Well, black, I think, is trying to consider the move e5 here. He wants to maybe play this move. On the other hand, white wanted to maybe try to get this g5 move in, not now because it loses a pawn, and maybe try to get this move g5 in at the correct moment, but it's hard to do. And this is quite a clever move, because even if black doesn't play e5, now e5 is a double-edged move for black. Why is it a double-edged move? Well, let's have a look. If you play g3, for example, and black plays e5, whenever you change the pawn structure, you need to think about the positives and the negatives. And black playing e5 here changes the pawn structure. But what has black made worse about his pawn structure? This guy. This guy is not defended anymore. And after some exchange like this, you could even say that this is a long-term weakness, because it can never be defended by a pawn. And black can certainly play like this, because you know, it's not all negative, but this pawn can also be weak later on. Saying that, I mean, I would play something like queen f4 here, and I would, oh no, because I dropped the g4 pawn, I wouldn't play that. On the other hand, if you do play e5, what's good for black? Well, black gains more space. He can try to advance with d4. And if you look at the pieces, you also have to always think about the pieces. The knight on d2 is a very bad piece here. It doesn't have anywhere good to go. You know, this knight is a bad piece. The knight on f6 is pretty good. It might be able to come there later on. So it's a double-edged move playing this one. So rook d1 played, and now rook d8. And black is not in a rush to play this move. Now I saw someone suggesting queen moves and f4. You can maybe play like this, but it's quite risky. I mean, I don't think you're going to checkmate black here. When you play f4, I can probably take on this. I mean, let's say rook c8, and if you try to continue, remember, all pawn moves also weaken your position. I can maybe just take here now. You can't take with your e-pawn because you've weakened your position. And if you take with this pawn, you can see black has adequate counterplay on the open file. Queen c2, start trying to take your pawns. Yeah, I mean, you can go forwards, but so what? You're not going to checkmate me just with one queen. You need to get a rook over here, a knight over here, and you're a long knight somewhere like there, and you're a long way from doing that. So you can't really attack just with one piece. You need to play this more positionally. So white needs to think about what he's doing here, and both players playing very sensible moves. So he has gone g3, and this has the maybe added idea of playing king g2 and having an idea potentially attacking on the h-file. So you're putting the rook into the game. So king g2, rook here, and at some point maybe g5 to try and force the black pawn away from the h-file, and then you can attack along the h-file with your rook. So this is a sensible looking move, g3 in the position. But one of them's going to need to make a breakthrough. I suppose in positions like this, who is better? It should be equal, but which side would you rather play? And I think it always comes down to who has the easier plan. Who has the easier plan here? When you're playing chess, it's not always who has the advantage, it's which side has the easier plan. And it does look to me that white can play a couple of moves here without thinking. Even when he does that, I don't know what he's doing next. Black's plan, I'm not sure. Maybe black should start trying to push over here, you know, something along this line, or start trying to get some space on the queen side, like a5, a4, doing this kind of maneuver. Because getting a pawn here could help later on, potentially. Maybe black could even try to get a queen to b5. This is, you know, attacking b2, trying to even come into this square. I don't know, just ideas. So it should be even. And they both like, you know, have a position here which they can just make some moves, but I don't really see a good plan for either player. I don't really see a good plan for either player. This knight on d2 is bad, but if you ever move it, the black knight will come into e4, which might be an even better square. Let's say you try to maneuver it around, like something like here, knight f1, trying to maneuver it somewhere. Not a very good route. The problem is you always allow black's knight into the center of the board. So white's knight probably has to stay here to control e4. You can see the scores. I know they're very small. Let me just move over to the scores very quickly. It's the first game. They're on half a point each. Okay, well, the next move's very interesting that black's played. Black fought a long time, and then he played e5. So what does that indicate to me? This indicates to me that black is trying to win, because black did not need to play this move. And as I said, you're changing the pawn structure, which is quite dangerous. In the long term, this guy can become weak. So pawn takes e5, and now queen f5, and white is very happy to exchange queens, because then this pawn becomes more weak. And there's another little rule, I'd say, and the other rule is basically you know, if you have less space, exchanging pieces, particularly the queen, is good. Now black does have more space here, so white is happy to exchange queens off. Black's new idea might be to try and hit this pawn on f5 here. You can see Esipenko smiling a bit there. They've both got a little cheeky smile there. Was there? Oh, it's a draw offer. I knew that. I didn't see the draw offer. Okay, now who offered the draw there? It was. I've only got their chess.com handle. Let me just find out who offered the draw. Who offered the draw? It was Esipenko offered the draw. So Esipenko with this move offered the draw. They've taken the draw. That makes my life a lot easier. I mean, if I was white here, maybe I could play on. You could tell by their smile that something was up, yeah? You could see like, oh yeah. I mean, it is equal. We know it's been equal. White didn't get an advantage there. So a draw is a fair result. And we're now halfway through and they're on 1 point all. Very, very close match here. Very close match. These guys have, you know, they're probably very good friends, aren't they? Being Russia, playing similar tournaments together. Hard to play against good friends. Okay, so I don't know when they're going to start the next game. I'm going to have a bit more coffee now. Cheers to a nice quick draw. I'd be happy if they had 2 more quick draws. Just get to the blitz, you know, and then 2 quick draws in the blitz, 1 Armageddon game. Oh, that'd be, yeah, that'd be my easiest commentary day ever. The thing is, I really do enjoy looking at how these guys play, because they're some of the most talented players in the world at this Lyon international tournament. Remember, this tournament in Spain, run yearly. The sponsors down at the bottom there, and it's always interesting to see how, you know, how these youngsters are playing, and to learn stuff. I want to learn as well. We all want to learn. So next game is in 5 minutes, so I will take a short break and I'll be back again in no time whatsoever. And in the next game we're going to see a change of colours. So see you shortly. So we're back, we're round 3, and well, I'm hoping for a bit more violence on the chessboard in this game. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm happy they kind of drew that game because they could have played it on, but you know, let's get to the next one. Let's get some more pieces on the board. And the reason I said I want to see some rapid play, I just find the blitz really exciting as well, you know. And it's such a close match to decide this whole competition on one Armageddon game. That is, you know, that's kind of like all the tension just builds up, and you've got just one game of chess to decide it on. So it's that's why I sort of, you know, I want an Armageddon game. Anyone else want to see an Armageddon? I mean, okay, if they have 2 very exciting draws and then another 2 blitz game draws, that's also okay. But I'm hoping we're going to see some tactical attacking chess. Will we get the same opening as we had in the first game now? Remember the first game? If you've been here from the start, then, well, you know, we might be expecting it. And that was that Queen's Gambit variation. They're due to start any second now, so we will be kicking off in a minute. Here we go. Let me just flip the board around. And, well, okay, Sarana is now playing knight to f6. Is he going to go e6 and d5 to get back into it? d5 would lead back into the Queen's Gambit. You can see a bit of a laugh there. A bit of a laugh. Okay, he's got a big smile on his face there. So he's offering, in this one, maybe a Nimzo Indian. Is he offering a Nimzo Indian? Because, well, he is. If you go knight c3 now, if you remember my analysis on the first game, d5 is now, it gives white more options because white can now take on d5. And if you were here for my commentary on the first game, go for a plan like this later on, because he hasn't put his knight on f3. So they have gone for a Nimzo Indian. So it's good to see a different change of opening. The Nimzo Indian. Queen c2 is the main line, so you can take here with a queen. d5, taking the center. And now pawn takes d5. Queen takes d5, e3. So this is all in the theory here. And the match is 1 point all. Very closely level players, these two. I mean, there's a lot of play left in this position. White's going to try to rely on his bigger center to try and exert himself on the position. Later on, he might try to use these pawns, but black can hit out often with the move c5. The other idea that white can play is to try and take over this open diagonal by playing b6 and bishop b7. I mean, the Nimzo Indian's a very good opening. It's a very solid way to start the game. And I think that all the top players play the Nimzo Indian. I don't. I just play the Dutch. Much more fun, much more aggressive. But the Nimzo Indian's a great one. Did I cover this line in my DVD? Well, I actually, when I play this position, I always go knight to f3. And then if my opponent goes here trying to get a Nimzo Indian, I don't have to play knight c3. The line I recommend is putting my knight on d2, because then black can't double my pawns on c3. So this is what I play as white. But let's go back to the game. e3 played. This is only a check because of knight c6 defending the bishop. So black does now play c5, and bishop d2 breaks the pin on the knight. So now black has to take on c3, and now bishop takes c3 with the bishop pair, hoping to bring that bishop to life. And Sarana just develops his knight to c6 in the position, putting a little bit of pressure on the central structure and developing in a very normal way. So quite a solid start to the game again, but this must all be theory, must all still be theory as we go on. I don't know this line, the theoretical aspects of this, as well as the other 2 games, which I'm a bit of an expert in those openings, playing them myself, but this one I'm not so sure. No, the cameras are right for a change, except Esipenko is white. I'm not going to change that around, you know, I've only got enough hands. But you can see Esipenko is white, but he's at the top. Okay, you know, come on, I can only do so much editing, drawing a show. So you can see them with their names on the camera. It's okay. Yeah, It's oh, okay, good. You let me off there. Thank you, Shadow. Thanks, Shadow. And I'm looking at the chat on the Twitch chat. So if you've got any questions, twitch.tv/chess. I'll try to answer your questions. I'll keep an eye on the chat as we go, and of course I'll keep a little eye on the chess as well. Now Black's idea here is probably to either simplify in the center or to get rid of this bishop and play knight to e4 and just try to swap this off. Now White is developing knight f3. This has got to be normal. He's only 2 moves away from castling, so there's no real development problems here. The position is not open enough to have any danger to the king, and again this must be a theoretical position. Next move, White can just move his bishop to probably one of these 2 squares and castle. This one is more aggressive, but it could get in the way of some of the pieces. They're 18 and 20 years old, 2 of the youngest talents in the world at the moment, both from Russia. Maybe in 5 years they'll be competing for, you know, the title. You know, so many strong Russian players. It's crazy. So many strong Russian players around. So how is Black going to treat this position? Again, we're often seeing the problem of this bishop in all these opens. Well, okay, Black just develops, saying to Esipenko, how are you going to develop? Let's wait and see. Can White... Well, I don't think White can castle queenside because of the a2 pawn. That'd be a little bit too risky here. I mean, you could. It's not a stupid idea for White to take here. This is not a silly idea because, look, you opened up the bishop and you want to give your bishop a lot of scope here. This is not so silly. Not so silly. Now, the prizes for this, if we just have a look, this is the last day of the Lyon Chess Festival today. And the winner of this will be invited to the Masters tournament next year. So the main prize really is the invitation to the top event. The top event this year had like Shirov, Dominguez, I can't remember all the names now, a couple of other good players, and you're guaranteed a nice pay packet there. And I think the winner gets 4,000 euros as well. So it's a nice little packet here, 4,000 euros plus an invitation to play next year. Hopefully the Lyon Chess Festival in Spain will be live then as well, meaning hopefully COVID has, you know, gone away by then. Oh, fingers crossed. Yeah, go away COVID, we don't want you anymore. So okay, so we have castles. What's White going to do? Well, bishop e2 would be the most sensible, I expect. Get the king castle to then decide, and White at some point will consider taking on c5. I mean, he doesn't need to take on c5, but he has played it. Okay, and now he's gone rook c1, and he's threatening now to do a little bit of damage to Black's structure because he's breaking the pin on his queen. So he's threatening just to take here, getting a slightly better structure then, because Black would have to double his pawns. So I like this one. This is probably better than putting the rook on d1. Putting the rook on d1 may look good because you get an open file, but you still can't move your bishop then. In this position, you can now move your bishop because you're defending the queen, and the rook is also on an open line. You probably want to put these rooks on these files. Get both your rooks on the open files there. And after rook c1, White trying to claim a little edge with the bishop pair and with the mini threat of taking on f6. I don't know if this is anything major. It's not anything major. I mean, you could, let's have a look. Bishop d7, for example. I take on f6. You take the queen off. I take here. They could get this position. White might be fractionally better because this is a little bit uncomfortable, but it's only such a fraction. Even this position looks okay for Black. Black can put his rooks here, and he can even put his knight on e5. So I don't think this is much here as an advantage either. Now, saying that, why allow your opponent the possibility of doing that? White he's still got 2 moves to get castled. He has to move his bishop and his king, so it takes him 2 moves. So the next move is much more aggressive, some Sarana with the black pieces. He plays knight d5. Someone did say, what about white's development disadvantage? And it is a small problem here. And I like this move much greater because you're avoiding this ending. You may also be threatening knight b4s or just get rid of that bishop. So it looks to me like black should be okay again in this position. Can we go knight to g5? This could be interesting. Can we play this move? What about this move for a bit of fun? Trying to spice the position up. And if you go knight takes c3, we saw that tactic earlier, checkmate. So knight g5 is interesting because the other idea is to centralize the knight and gain a tempo against the queen. So first of all, black has to stop checkmate. Maybe f5 to stop this knight and stop the checkmate is what black would play here. And then you could argue this knight jump is looking a little bit silly. So I like this for black though. I think black is at least equal. This is certainly an idea. I mean, okay, a normal move here would be bishop e2 or bishop d3. I'm not sure about bishop d3 because I'm worried about knight here. It just looks like it could be a target, but you are potentially threatening that one. So is bishop d3 a possibility? Don't know. I don't like it for some reason. It looks a little bit exposed here, but it might be best. It might be the best move for white. Because if I go knight here, oh, there's a very nice tactic here. Look at this. Knight here. Oh, bishop takes. Now I do not take with the queen. This is probably not a great tactic, but I can play knight takes. And you might be thinking, but if queen takes here, then I go knight takes d3 and knight takes c5. But in actual fact, after rook takes c5, white is still better. Because again, this bishop is not a great piece. And I have one open file and another open file. And if you play bishop d7, try and develop, I go knight e5, like in the first game. And this knight is just as good as the bishop here. Because we can always swap it off. So that was a tactic that looked very clever, but probably was not very clever. So this is what white is probably thinking about. Does he put the bishop which square? Instead, okay, we have more moves. He's gone a3. He doesn't want to allow this one. Black has now just taken, and we have more exchanges, and now rook d8, and now bishop d3. Looks fairly even to me. Bishop d7, black equalizing in most of these games. I see that someone's pointing out in that last variation, well spotted, Uncle Mixa, that I would have lost the queen there. Yeah, you're right. Bishop takes h7. Very clever spot there. Very clever spot. That was a good little spot. Bishop h7 was good there. It was a silly idea anyway, but it was worth considering. And this position must be even. I mean, are they going to have another quick draw here? I don't see why white should be any better. I mean, this bishop at the moment, slightly worse, but black has no weaknesses in his position. All the black's pawns are solid. Black can even put his bishop on e8 to open up this one, and I don't see why there should be an advantage here for white. This knight could even try to come to d5 maybe, and because I want to move that so the bishop can also move. Okay, I'm just thinking now, if you do move that one, then I allow knight to e5. So rook c1 does white have a small edge here? Very small, I'm thinking, like tiny edge, because he has a little bit more space, If you ever move the knight, like I suggested, the knight comes here. Okay, black just centralizing his king. I don't think it can be much, no? Can't be much of an advantage, no? Looks like they're so evenly matched, these two, aren't they? They're so evenly matched. You can see they're playing the typical, what we used to call the Soviet school of chess, where they don't take many risks. They play good, sound openings, you know, gambits, no, not really. They just want to play a nice positional game. I think white will probably play on here a little bit. I mean, I would be thinking about trying b4, b5, and then some knight move. Okay, so he's going bishop e4. Could also be a clever idea. And I believe the thing with this is, you know, a lot of players, a lot of weaker players may now consider f5, but f5 is probably a big mistake, because if you play f5, I can take this one off and then go knight to e5. And if you take on g2, I can even play, well, I got this check, but I think f3 is going to embarrass this bishop. This bishop is very bad. And if you don't take on g2, but let's say play a check, this knight looks really strong. You can never get rid of this knight. I can always go f4, and you have no pieces you can get rid of this knight with. The only way you can do it is to sacrifice your rook. So positionally, this knight is now better than the bishop, because it kind of controls the bishop's squares. So that's a little move, bishop e4, to try and tempt your opponent into making a bad positional error here with f5. So black has just gone rook c8. Black's not taking any risks. Nice and solid chess. And now, you know, f5 might come if it involves lots of exchanges, but you're certainly cautious about playing such a move in the position. I mean, as white, I'd like to start pushing these guys up the board to try and give myself some ideas to attack on the king side. But if I play g4, now f5 makes a lot more sense, because I'm not left with this pawn. And in this kind of position now, it's a little bit different, because before black had a pawn on e6 which looked really bad, but he's at least got rid of that pawn on e6, and this might not be so bad for black, this one. So rook on ac8 played, and it looks even. b4 maybe. I'd probably play b4. I can't see why I wouldn't. You know, let's gain a little bit of space over here then. Let's do that. Let's play b4, trying to give ourselves at least some way if we really want to try and win. I suppose, again, like I mentioned in this broadcast a lot though, whenever you play a pawn move, you do have to be quite cautious, because it can also weaken your position. You have to now watch out for a5, but not here, because then, or maybe here, maybe a5. And if you push on, knight here, and I can take here, and lots of things probably get us swapped off, probably another draw. Now, if your name is Bobby Fischer and you're playing Spassky in 1972 in the World Championship of the Century, the match of the century, as Joe-san has recommended here, you might be considering, oh, he did go g4, interesting. You might consider bishop takes h7, but this is one of the biggest blunders that that Bobby Fischer has ever made. He did a similar idea against Spassky game 3 or 4, and after g6 your bishop is trapped and you're going to lose that bishop eventually. You can try to hang on to it, but then f6 and you're going to kick that knight away, and the threat here is just to take this one off. So Esipenko did play g4, and I like this idea. This is the right positional way to play. This is something that Kramnik did very often. If you look at the games of world champion Kramnik, who became world champion in 2000 in London by beating Garry Kasparov, then he tried to just gain space slowly, and he's trying to keep his bishop here. And I was wondering about f5 now, which is not so stupid, but I guess you're still worried about the knight coming here. So he went h6 and now h4. And you can see that these pawns can try to just gain that little bit of space. So I like this way that Esipenko is playing. He's going for a little grind here, trying to grind down, get a little bit more space. It shouldn't be that bad for Sarana. You know, black doesn't really have any weaknesses, but this is a nice positional idea, trying to get some space on the king side. It's much easier to play when you have more space. Yeah, get those h4s in. Harry, Harry, Harry. And now, well, the time limit, black has 5 extra minutes. This is the third game of this 4-game match today. What is black going to play? Maybe black is struggling a little bit to find the right plan. Do you play b6 to get rid of this weakness? No, you don't, because you lose a piece. You can't play this because of just this one, of course. So it's a little bit tricky with this bishop here. I'm wondering if he should have played f5 there, which is a very committal move. I mean, you can try f5, but white's idea, I'm sure, I don't know if I take first even. I probably take first, but I'm not even sure if I do now. White's idea will probably be to take this knight off and then get this beautiful piece here. I think this would be white's idea. And white's basically saying, okay, I like my knight. This might give me some advantage in the position, having my knight on this square. It doesn't look so bad for black. Black can now go check. And after, maybe now the king comes this way, yeah? And if the king can come up and start attacking these pawns, it could be a little bit difficult for black this, yeah? Especially as I'm coming into c7 with the rook. These rooks looking very, very good. So I definitely prefer white here. White's coming up. The knights in the middle are better than bishops often, if you can keep your knight in the middle of the board. So this is something that black doesn't really want to play. Okay, so black has gone f6 instead, and this is a multi-purpose move. You're giving a little bit more protection to e5. So if I ever try taking here, I can't play my knight in here now because you're defending that square, and it's also controlling g5. So I have the opportunity of, you know, if you play g5 as white, I can take off a lot of pawns there. I don't know if you want to do that, but you can. And you can see this. I think this is a really instructive moment in the game. I'm sure a lot of players as black here would be very tempted to play f5 because they think it's an active move. I'm gaining space, I'm attacking my opponent. But pawn moves create weaknesses, and whenever you move a pawn, you have to be very aware of what squares you're weakening, and e5 is a square that you're weakening here. So it's a very instructive move. That the most active moves are not always the best moves. You know, they can just make your position worse. And one thing I you know, from my experience playing, you know, sort of around England and Britain in tournaments when I was younger, when I became a grandmaster, I looked at a lot of the grandmasters playing in these tournaments against weaker players, and I learned a lot from grandmasters like Keith Arkell, Mark Hebden of England. And when they played lower rated players, and when I mean lower rated players, I mean good players like 2200, what they'd often do to win, they would often play like this as white. They would get a position equal, but they'd kind of wait for their opponent to play something rash, and they didn't even win the game. They'd wait until their opponent lost the game. And this is something you can do. This is something you can often do. You can often just wait until your opponent loses the game when you're a good player. You know, you can tell, you can sort of know that they might be tempted to make a mistake, and you give them the option of making a mistake like f5. So that's something that, you know, you can think about. Okay, so now black swapping off some pawns on g5 in the position. The more pawns that get exchanged, the nearer to a draw it becomes. Is this bad because the bishop coming to g4? I don't think that's a real worry, because it takes quite a long time for the bishop to get there, and you can see the pawn wasn't going to stay on that square long. White now has another idea in the position, because what these pawn moves have done, and really the reason I'm talking so much is basically I'm commentating. It's what commentators do, just in case you're wondering, you know. You know, if you don't like it, go away. That's all right with me. And I'm also just telling you the thoughts that these guys are playing. If you want to improve, you have to understand everything that's going through their mind and everything I'm thinking of. This is what grandmasters think like. They try to think of everything in the position. So all these ideas I'm talking about is what they're thinking of. They're thinking of multiple things. Lower rated players would not think like this, and if you want to improve, you have to try to get in the mind of these stars. So, you know, we are trying to do that. And yeah, I mean, it's quite funny to have a quiet commentary. I do talk a lot, but hey, it's because I love the game so much. And, you know, yeah, it's part of the process. So black now trying to play bishop b5 and do this, because white, if we go back, by playing these pawn moves, I was just saying what white's other idea might be. Now he's created some kind of route around here. So let's say that black doesn't do anything, like a6. White can even consider trying to switch the rook and getting in this way. You know, black plays another move which doesn't do anything, and all of a sudden white gets into the position. And you can see by moving these pawns, white's given himself that possibility. Back to the game, knight to a5 played, and I like this move. Black is trying to jump into action with bishop to b5. White taking this square, which I'm assuming black will take back quickly. Oh, they had a draw. Just as I was getting ready, another draw. And look at them, they're both smiling. They're like, oh, well, okay, not much going on here. I think this move, knight a5, whoever just said, is this a draw again? That was a bloody good prediction. Really good prediction there. The answer is yes. The reason it's a draw is there's not really any weaknesses in the position. These guys are very good. And you could play on at this level forever, and maybe Magnus Carlsen would. But at the end of the day, they're saving their energy. Let's say black takes back. There's no weaknesses. Neither side has any pawn weaknesses. These are all safe. These pawns are all safe. And I think the move, it looked like white was making more progress. But I think the move that really turned this into a draw was this clever move. Because with this move, black, which I missed, hence why maybe b4 would have been a more accurate way for white to play to stop this idea. Black's trying to activate his bishop, and when he gets the bishop there, he can also just go bishop c6 and swap off on that square. Everything's going to get swapped off. It's a draw. Now, I disagree that that was a bad game. I actually think that was probably a very good game. These guys are playing very high standard, and the more high standard you see, the more draws you get. Look at the World Championships, Fabiano versus Magnus. They had a draw in every game because the standard is so high. You're only going to get wins when one player makes a mistake. They're now coming to the last game in this segment. If either side wins the last game, they win the Young Masters Talent. We're going to have another break for about 5 minutes, and we'll be back again with what could be the last game if either side wins. Otherwise, it goes to Blitz and then Armageddon, which should be very exciting. So closely matched at the moment. Solid draw again there. Back again very shortly. Okay, so I think we are now coming to the final game, which is going to start any second now, at least of this segment. You can see the time control and the format below. Might be a little bit small, but you know, if you've got good eyes, you can see it below this little video of me. And they've played three games of rapid already. So in the last game, Sarana has the advantage of the white pieces, which is an advantage. And Sarana with the white pieces, if he's able to win this game, he will win the Young World Talents final, the Leon Young World Talents final. So this is a critical game. Maybe Black can also fight back and pull up a shock here. So just to let you know what's going on here, either side win, they qualify. Looking at the schedule, they qualify for the Masters Chess Tournament next year, which is a big thing, and they win, I think, 4,000 euros. It's not bad. It's nearly as much as I get paid to do this. It's a joke. Okay, so we have the same variation of the London system. Is White going to play this move, D takes C5? This is the way he should play it. C5, and okay, he has taken here. Okay, this is another way. This is the way that Magnus. I'm obviously joking about my pay. Jesus, come on, sense of humour, guys. And this is the way that Magnus Carlsen often plays the position. If you look at a lot of Magnus Carlsen games, and it's one way to improve your chess. Is to look at the top players in the opening variations that you play. You can do this in a number of ways and see what plans they come up with. And this is what Magnus does. He's done this regularly in these London system positions, and everyone is learning from him. And he even gives these two pawns away from the center. So let's say bishop takes here, takes here. You've moved both of your pawns away from the center, and you might think, why is White doing that? The reason White's doing that, he wants to use the central squares for his pieces. So he wants to put one knight there and another knight maybe on d4. And again, the problem with all these variations for Black is this bad bishop. It's trapped behind this. The white bishop is very strong. And again, these are all the things you need to think about when playing this kind of position. Bishop takes c5, more normal, and now castles. And White's idea is to play e4 next. And this is a very common idea. So b6 played, Black trying to get this bishop some life. And now e4 is certainly the key move. And I'd be very surprised if White did not play e4. You can even see some classical bishop sacrifices or the Greek gift in this position. For example, let's say we go e4. This could be really exciting. And now Black plays a normal developing move like knight to c6. And here you go e4, e5. And let's say the knight comes back here. Boom! Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Mr. Esipenko. Rocky's here to take the Iceman down. And after this, you get the classic bishop sacrifice. Knight comes in. If the king goes back, the queen can swing in here. And this is something, it might look very unrealistic, but you certainly have to think about it. You've got to go e4. You've got to go e4. You've got to play e4 here. Come on, what? Come on. Because this frees up the bishop, it gives your pawn a little bit of flexibility. I'd imagine you've got to play this. I mean, is he thinking about playing c4, playing it that way? Okay, he's gone queen e2. So he's maybe preparing this one. Now h6. So Black doesn't want to allow the sacrifice on that square. And is his idea to play knight to this? Maybe knight here is the idea against e4. But I'd be very surprised if White doesn't play e4. He can play h3 to give his bishop a square, but this move is, I'd be playing this move like a flash here. Like a flash. And maybe he's worried about knight h5 when he has to lose this bishop. This bishop now, okay, doesn't have a good square. Maybe this is why White is not playing e4, because of this move. Before, we might have had some bishop h7 move, but this could be it. Okay, let's go back. What's he played? He's played c4. Okay, so this is a different approach. Lion! Did you say there's a lion behind me? Oh no, we don't get lions in the English countryside. Thank you, Pushy, for scaring me there. Luckily, there's not many scary things in the English countryside. I mean, we get one rare snake called an adder, which can give you a bit of a nasty bite, but it's not that bad. What else do we get? We used to have wolves. It was a long time ago. I think the scariest animal, I think the animal that causes the most deaths in England is a cow. Probably like, you know, running over walkers who are in a field, something like that. I don't know. It's not that scary in the English countryside. It's not maybe like being in some parts of you know, some parts of America or Australia. Even though most Americans I've met think I'm Australian. Isn't that right? Most Americans think that you're Australian. They think English people are Australian. That's the myth, yeah? Yeah. Oh no, there's a cow behind me. How scary. That'd be more realistic. Oh no, that cow. Oh no, it's going to eat me alive. Oh no, actually we eat cows, don't we? Yes. Anyway, on to the game. So White's gone for a different approach. He's trying to put some pressure against it. Now this is a bit more of a calmer approach, where he's playing it a bit more positionally. And again, it looks to me now, I would have pushed with e4. I would not have been able to resist that move earlier on. I mean, I think these moves, queen e2, rook d1, they're okay, but they're a bit too cautious. You know, play e4, get on with it. That's what I'd have done anyway. I mean, but I'm not as good as these players. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so knight e5. So this is a typical idea. White hasn't weakened his position at all, and now he's oh look, did I just see Sarana with a London cup? I think he had a mug which had the Big Ben in London on it. Good bit. Yeah, get that London cup out. Okay, so knight e5 played, and this is a good move. First of all, we stop this idea of swapping our bishop off, and also we're just trying to develop pressure against d5 in a slower way, because this knight's defending that pawn. We maybe so we maybe want to put a little bit of pressure on the knight on f6 so we can take that pawn there. Thank you for reminding me about the score. I think it's actually, is it 1.5 out of 3? They have, yeah, well done. But I think black must be equal here. I predict it's going to go to a blitz playoff. That's my prediction. I predict it will go to a blitz playoff. That's what I'm thinking. Probably more likely, because look, black's managing to exchange off all the pieces. This looks like the only weakness you could say black has, the pawn on d5, but it's really well defended. It's defended not just by the knight but by the bishop, so I don't feel white has any advantage here. Anyone see why white should have advantage? I don't see it. Will they play this on a little bit? In the other games they haven't played it on so much. I think it's very likely to go to Armageddon. Okay, well that shows a little bit of intent to win, because white could have just said, okay, I'll exchange off, offer a draw, but he's trying to keep this bishop on, and that makes some sense. These bishops are quite handy, but black has 2 bishops as well, so it's not all over. They both have good bishops. The format of this is below. Just make sure you read the format. This is the 4th game. You can see their scores even on the board there, below the board. And it goes to blitz after this, and that'd be really exciting. We want to see some blitz, don't we? Let's see some blitz. You know, a bit more crazy action. So white, what's he going to do? Very sensible move, queen e7, connecting the rooks, getting the queen away from this rook on d1. And you often, when you're playing these positions, you know, you don't, they're making it look quite simple, it seems. They're making chess look quite easy. Meaning that they're not really doing much. They're just putting their pieces on good squares. They're avoiding weakening their position. And they're not really taking any risks, either of them, either. Now black's going to try to put his rooks on these squares, and it's even. This has got to be even. h3, very safety first, giving the king an escape square later on. This is like a Petrosian move. Ex-world champion Petrosian of Armenia, Soviet Union, played this kind of move often. He basically is just saying to black, okay, what are you doing? I'm just going to wait. And now black puts his rook in the middle. This is really, really, really even. Is anyone going to offer a draw, or are they going to play this out? What do you reckon, guys? Would it be another quick draw, or are they going to play it out? So rook d8 played. I can't see why either side's got anything. a3. Look at these two moves. Sarana just saying, okay, I'll just wait. I'll just wait. Maybe Esipenko is saying, okay, well I'm equal with black here. This is my last chance to win. I'm going to try. The time situation, they both got loads of time. I suppose you might play this position on if you think your opponent's a better blitz player than you. Let me just try to get some stats up on their blitz. I know that Esipenko is a very good blitz player. In 2017, well, he's a very good rapid player. He scored, okay, 11.5 out of 21 in the World Blitz Chess Championships. He came 41st in the world at Blitz, did Esipenko in 2017. He won a beautiful game against Sergei Karyakin there. Really, really famous game. Sarana, I don't know if he's ever played in the Blitz World Championships. Doesn't look like it, just looking at his details here. So they're both very good at Blitz. I don't know if one of them's better than the other. Okay, well, Hagsky is saying Sarana is better at Blitz. I think Esipenko is a very good Blitz player. Is he? So is Sarana, if the player of the white pieces is better at Blitz, then maybe black wants to try and play on. You know, just play on and not get to the Blitz bit. Because if you know, I mean, if I was playing Hikaru, well, I'd lose anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But if I had a chance to play him in a classical game or a Blitz game, I'd obviously play him. I'd obviously play him in the classical game. I wouldn't want to get to the Blitz because he'd destroy me, as he's done before. As he has done before. Okay, so what is black going to do though? So black's trying to think of a plan. I mean, one idea might be able to put the bishop here. It looks like a normal square. Tuck it out the way, and maybe you can go for the double attack then. Queen c7 later on, threatening queen h2. But it's very easy to stop that. I mean, bishop b8, queen c7. You can always put your knight on f1, and the knight there will defend h2. So that looks like one simple way to play. And also black has to worry about bishop takes f6 if the queen moves away from the queen. I don't think there's much going on here really. I don't really see much. Is it even a position where black doesn't want to move? Maybe black is sort of, you know, a lot of black moves are making the position worse. Is that possible? Like a weird zugzwang position? I don't know. I don't know about. Is this a weird zugzwang position? I can't be. I mean, black must have a sensible move, but can black play e5? Is that what he's thinking about? Interesting. e5. Okay, maybe we can have a look at that. e5 is very interesting. Trying to play e4. And after this move, if I take on d5, you play e4 now. I'm just trying to work out if bishop takes f6 is now a way to play. I think after bishop takes f6, I might be wrong, that black can take here. Very complicated. It's like Pac-Man. Hump, 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 hump. And if bishop takes f7, pawn takes here. Yeah. And this is winning for black, actually. So, yeah, complicated, yeah? What's happened? Has anything happened? Let's have a look. Bishop b8's played. Nothing's really happened. The bishop's just come back. Very safe move. Okay, well, someone's recommended g6 and h5. Do keep your suggestions coming, but I don't really like that idea, because you don't generally want to play too many pawn moves in front of your king, because it weakens your king. h6 is okay, and h3, because you give your kings escape squares. But if you play another one, like let's say you ever play g6, well, the problem is now your knight is really not defended well. You can never now move your queen because you lose your knight, and you've also just generally weakened this diagonal. And if you continue with your plan of h5 in here, you could even lose. For example, let's say I do nothing here, and let's say h5 here, you go here. All of a sudden now I can take here and take on h5 with check. So you have to be very careful. I wouldn't play too many pawn moves around your king. It's not good. Bishop b8. I mean, it should be a draw. Should be heading towards a draw, I think. I reckon. Should be getting near there. They've still got quite a bit of time left to play this on, though, this position. I'm just trying to think what white plays. If the problem is now, if white plays e4 now, then black can just play d4, because the rook's now defending that one. Okay, you can put your bishop here, but now I just move my queen, and all of a sudden black is a lot better. So I'm threatening checkmate, and I can go a5. Well, I think black's doing absolutely fine here, at least. Might be okay for white, because you can go knight f1 and then move the bishop back somewhere, but hasn't really jumped to life the position yet. No draw offers though either. No draw offers at the moment in time. But what does white play? They're both in a position where they don't want to weaken their position. Okay, so he's gone bishop b4 immediately. And now the queen. Okay, he's gone bishop here. Bishop c3 draw. Bishop c3, let's play some blitz. So we're being told that Sarana, the player of the white pieces, is nearly 100 points higher in blitz. And now in this position, Sarana with the white pieces, if he goes bishop c3, it's going to end in a draw, yeah? Because black will go here, they will do this, and then we have the blitz. So will that happen? Bishop c3 played. Look at that cup, he's got London on it. Bishop b8 played, bishop b4. If this is not a draw, I'll be amazed. Bishop d6 is riveting stuff. And it's a draw. Well, in some ways that's really good, because now we get the blitz, and now it heats up. Now they have to start playing crazy chess, yeah? It's gonna go to much more exciting chess. The thing is, you could criticize them, but I don't think you can, because their chess is just so accurate. It doesn't seem like either player has made any mistakes, and you can't really win a game of chess without making mistakes. If you look, if you look at when computers play against each other, and computers are much stronger than any humans, computers nearly always draw because they don't make mistakes. So that's just an indication of their level of chess. But it gets very exciting now, because we're going to have 2 games of 5-minute chess plus 3 seconds of move. They both seem very relaxed. They're both probably good friends. And 5 plus 3. So it's going to get exciting now if either side wins in the 5 plus 3, where it's going to get more and more exciting. Then they win the Lyon Young World Talents final. And just trying to work out when the next game will be. So we've got 2 minutes. I'm going to have a very quick break, but I'm going to have to be back in 2 minutes. So just bear with me. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be with it's going to all be over very soon. Another half an hour, the match will be over. Who's your money on? I'll be back in 1 minute's time. Okay, so we're now getting to the 5-minute section. The details are below. You can see from the scores it's 2-all in the rapid section. So we're in the blitz, and this is the Young World Talents, the Lyon Young World Talents chess competition, and the winner of this one will get an invite to the Masters tournament next year, and plus they get, I think, 4,000 euros, which is not bad. And it's now 5 minutes plus 3 seconds of move, so it's not too quick. They've still got a bit of time to think, but I mean, that's pretty quick, yeah? So it's going to be becoming much quicker now. And is anyone going to break the deadlock? I mean, I don't think they can't just draw all the way to Armageddon. They're going to have to really try, but also in the positions they're getting, well, we're straight in now, and we have Sarana with the white pieces, and look, they're now picking up the pace. Another London system. We just saw this in the last game where white hasn't got any advantage as yet. Now if he had brought some of my DVDs, he'd know a way to get an advantage, because I've demonstrated it. But okay, we're getting the same lines we've seen before. C5 just occurred. Now black has tried to go for B6. And there's a couple of ways you can play this. You can now play this, but he's first of all stopping bishop a6 for the time being by getting double power over there. And the queen is quite good on e2. So this move makes a lot of sense. This supports the move e4 to come through the middle. And it just gets in the way of bishop a6. So I'm very interested to see how Sarana is going to play this position as white. Obviously, he's a very good London system player, and I expect a lot of you play the London system. Maybe we can learn something. He's got his pyramid now. This is the basis of the London system. And now black is playing quite an aggressive move. Esipenko going forwards. Come on! Get in there, son! Do. Oh, a move like that excites me. Harry. And this is a move I often recommend in the London system because it supports this idea. I mean, can you, if knight takes d2, go for this one and go for a quick checkmate? This might be winning. For example, king takes, knight here. And now what happens with the king? The king comes here, queen in. I'm threatening checkmate. So this is quite a decent move. Knight d7. Black needs to keep the knight here blocking this one, but can we go knight g5 anyway? This would be this is a very aggressive move. So the pace has picked up. This is extremely exciting. Sarana with this move is basically saying, I'm probably not going to castle kingside anymore. I'm going to try to use Harry to checkmate you. He can always castle queenside, and now knight to g5 looks critical to me. You're trying to get rid of the knight on this square. Knight g5, maybe knight to f6. Esipenko holding his head up a little bit there. Holding his head up a little bit, but knight g5 looks so logical, yeah. Get that knight into the position. He's gone the other way. Okay, this is also a very normal move. In order to get rid of this knight so your bishop can attack, you need to play f3. This move, f3, is key. So in order to play f3, you get the knight out of the way. So is he now going to take and go f3? Or is he going to do something else? Is he going to... He's going to swap off. So he's gone for a more positional approach. We're going to have no checkmate attacks here. Knight g5 was a much more aggressive move earlier on. Black now, I feel, is got no real problems. He's very solid in the position. I mean, you could try queen h5, but then g6, maybe. Could you even bring the rook around to try and attack? Don't really believe it. e4 is another move that he's going to think about. They're both spent about a minute getting to the position. Remember, it is 2 games. This is the first game. They swap colours after this game. And now a slightly aggressive move there. Some pressure now. Aha, I see the top that Sarana is wearing. It's the Russian national team top. I thought it was the football top. It might be their football team top. I've now solved that mystery. So we have an Arsenal top versus a Russian top there. You can see the thing, the armband. c5. Black playing very normal moves. This is probably an equal position. Time limit 5+3. And he's got, look at Harry go. Go, Harry, go, go, go. Harry, be good. And is he going to use his pawn even more? Is he going to keep pushing it? I mean, castling queenside looks very logical. Black just moving his pieces nearer his king to defend it. He might be trying to go f5 to block this bishop out at the right moment. Possibly. Now h6, black just plays g6, I think. I don't believe the sacrifice is going to work. I mean, if we do something like this, I think white just loses a piece. You've only got your queen attacking. Okay, you have Harry attacking, but black's defending your one threat. So this doesn't work. So this could be a little bit premature. It's the kind of position you might want to bring your knight around, but as soon as you move your knight, the black knight can come back into the center. So in this position, black clearly is okay. It's about even still. Time situation now, well, Sarana has spent half of his time getting here. Half of his time down. 2 minutes 40 left. Okay, he has played this move. Look at it. Oh, we got to cheer on white a little bit. Come on, boy, up you go. But what's he going to do now? What is his next idea in this position? What is his idea? I don't actually see white's idea. Okay, he's pushed his pawn here, but what's he going to do next? I think he will have to commit his king. He can still castle kingside. It's not so stupid. Castling queenside, very risky. Okay, so he's taken it. Interesting decision. And this is now much more dynamic than a lot of the other games. And he's done this to try and get some influence in the center of the board. Some influence in the center of the board here. But black has a nice solid center as well. Now if black can try to get his central pawns moving, I can see black taking the advantage in this game. But it's quite hard to move these pawns, because if you try going d4, I think I can just take it. If you try going e5, I take on d5, and if you have this kind of pawn structure, you can see c5 is now quite weak because it can't be defended by another pawn. So this should be fine for white. So what is Esipenko going to play here in this position? I mean, the move f5 is an idea. I mean, I see this recommended. I don't think black should want to put the knight here in a rush, because we'll just take it. But f5 gains space, and maybe you can go f4. This is certainly not a stupid move. I'd probably put my queen on g3. Some ideas are coming here. And if you go knight e4 as suggested in the chat, I think I'll happily swap this one off. I'm not even sure what with. Maybe this one? I'm going to try to say that your bishop is bad here. This is interesting, but I get my queen into this square and I try to attack your weak pawn here. And you can see now there's some threats to g7. I kind of prefer white here. This bishop is useless. So you've got to be very careful with what pieces you try to exchange off here. We saw yesterday, I was doing the commentary and I was only commentating on Esipenko's games, and he was so calm. He got down to 2 seconds and he just went a couple of times. Okay, interesting move. Going for a maneuver into potentially e5. Very nice idea. Backward knight moves are sometimes the hardest moves to play. And some pressure against Harry as well. But the main idea is just to bring it into a central square. I mean, I honestly think black is not worse here. I might even prefer black because I have a lot of faith in the central pawns. White stopping that one from going, and he's just moved his king away because bishop takes g6 was an idea. You couldn't play that in that position because knight to e5. Let's just have a look at that. This may look very strong, bishop takes g6, because you can't take because the checkmate. But if you play bishop takes g6, black has the move in the middle, knight to e5, which attacks the queen, attacks the bishop. When the queen moves, we take the bishop. But after knight to f3, it becomes a threat because we're controlling e5. So king h8 played, and now white simply takes on d5. Are these pawns strong or weak? Well, b3. You often call the term for pawns like this when they're on open lines is hanging pawns. There's been many things written about these in the middle game. Now they can be strong if they start pushing forwards, but they can also become targets. For example, if white gets some rooks on these lines, a rook on c1, a rook on d1, attacking those lines. I don't think so, Plo Crux, because a king e8 in that variation you're just recommending. And this is a great aggressive move, opening up the bishop, trying to attack the king. I prefer black. I'm going to stick with, I think black is fine. White hasn't castled. He may have to castle kingside, but then h6 is coming. Esipenko, I think, taking control. They're both under a minute. Keep an eye on the time. Keep an eye on the time. Plo Crux, nice to have you here. It wasn't, to be honest, it wasn't an easy tactic there, so don't worry yourself. Okay, so white has castled, but he's losing a pawn now. And can you see anything from the body language? It looks like Sarana is slightly more worried. Esipenko concentrating, but he's down to 40 seconds. 40 seconds. He's taken on f2 check, so black is a pawn up. Can white claim any compensation? Well, he's got a little bit of play along here. He does have the Harry pawn, and he does have some pieces sort of pointing that way. It's a good question, Weasel. How are people so good at chess? When you watch these youngsters, they're 18 and 20, but they've been grandmasters for years. How are they so good? Well, they train a lot. I mean, in Russia, they have chess they do chess every day for hours on end. So it's hard work, yeah? It's not easy. It's not easy to become a good chess player. It takes a lot of work. So black is now a pawn up, and he had to take with a king to defend this one, and now he's gone 2 pawns up. 2 pawns up. I think black is doing really well. 19 seconds. White is really struggling. You can see it. I think Sarana is looking very nervous here. Has he got any chance to start some attack here? Maybe some chance. He might even have a rook coming to e6. Maybe white. And now look at black's clock. He's grabbed another pawn. 3 pawns now. How many pawns does he want? And he is trying to start an attack here. Knight g4. Wow. Checkmate is threatened. This is getting very tactical. One of the most exciting positions. h5, blocking it up. Now rook d7. Does that threaten queen h5? Not quite, because there's a knight here. You've got 9 seconds left. 6. Black should be winning here. He's 3 pawns up. But you can still lose this position. Okay, nice sensible move. Black must be winning, but look at the time. Just keep an eye on the clock. King g7, getting the king off this pin. White trying some desperate tactics now. The queen has ideas of slipping into e3. 5, 4, 3. One thing to do when you're material up is just swap off the pieces. Swap off the pieces. Rook e3, swapping off more pieces. Because your pawns will probably win the game. White's trying to keep the pieces on the board. Black, no, I want to swap them off. The knight is very good as well. Black is clearly winning. Clearly winning. And now black just trying to swap off. The threat is queen here, checkmate in some positions as well. And now the rook comes in. Rook to d1 a threat. So white immediately stops that, but it doesn't stop. Okay, so rook e1, only move maybe. a4. Ooh, it's getting a bit desperate. It's getting a bit desperate. The only way black can mess this up is if he blunders. If he blunders. Can black move the rook here? This is what I'm thinking. I don't know why he's not moving the rook there. Try to get some counterplay. Must be a reason. Let's look at the time though. So close. They're getting 3 seconds of move. They're so calm, aren't they? They're so calm. And now black is threatening the back rank. Oh, this is horrible for white. Black's swapping off the last pieces. It must be quite easily winning now. Just taking queen e3. Looks like a good way. He's found it. And now maybe g5 even. Okay, he's grabbing another pawn. Check here. Take that one with a queen. He's found it. He's now, how many pawns up is he? He's 3 pawns up. White's only chance is to get into the position with some kind of perpetual, but black can probably just cover that. Yeah, he's moved the queen back, and now he probably just goes here and pushes this pawn. Get the queen behind the pawn. Get the queen behind the pawn, and he's done it. Of course, this should be winning for black, but with the queens on the board, there's always a slight chance of a perpetual check. Slight chance of a perpetual check. Not much of a chance, but very small. Now he's using his king to make progress. The queen centralizes. It's horrible, obviously. But there is a chance. This is only the first game, but that does mean that when, and I'm going to say when, Esipenko wins this game with black, he only needs to draw with the white pieces. He only needs to draw with white in the next blitz game, and then he's won. He has won the Young Talents final. There's no stopping this guy now. This guy is just rolling down the board. Is there any way to stop that pawn if it comes? Okay. You've got to be careful of this one now, and white suddenly has some. Okay, so very clever. He's trying to get it with check. Well, how many? Okay, he's found it. He had to stop this check. But now there's another check here. It's kind of like white's got a little smile on his face there. He's got a little smile. But I don't think it's going to last so long. This is the only move. Queen e7. Should still be winning for black, yeah. But he's got some perpetual checks all of a sudden. It's not 100% easy to win. Okay, if he doesn't have a perpetual check now, it's game over. Queen g7. Okay, this must be winning. I mean, it's amazing how white is. It's amazing how white is just holding on here. And now this check. Can he hold the draw? This would be a miracle draw. Right. Now this is actually not easy to win. I had this ending before with these two pawns. Of course it's winning, so he had to do something else there. But it's brilliant defense here. Brilliant defense. You guys can predict what you think is going to happen here. I mean, I still think black will win, but Sarana is playing amazingly well. And now he has to come back in. Look at the time. Okay. He's coming up. Is he coming up here? No, he can't be doing that. 3, 2. I mean, these guys, they're so calm. Look at them. I'm much more nervous than them. He's gone for a draw. Oh, wow. Look at that for 4. Oh, my words. You can just tell by their face. Oh, Esipenko absolutely disgusted. Sarana now big favourite after saving that. Houdini-like. I mean, if you can save that, you can save anything, can't you? I mean, literally, how can you save this position? Unbelievable save. You're completely lost here. I mean, let's just have a look at that position. Look at this position. You're 3 pawns down. You're not 1 pawn down. You're not 2 pawns down. You're 1, 2, 3 pawns down. Blimey. So how is Esipenko going to recover from that? How is he going to recover? Well, now a decisive result will mean there is a winner. Esipenko playing the English, and he's still upset. It's really hard to bounce back. You know, when you've made a mistake like that, to bounce back and play a good game is not easy. Esipenko has the advantage of the white pieces though, and it could go to Armageddon. Every game has been a draw so far, and if there's a decisive result here, we have a winner. If it's another draw, Armageddon will be coming. This is a standard position in the Nimzo Indian. Again, white trying to rely on his more pawns in the center to give him some advantage. Often white tries to do this kind of thing later on, move the pawn here, and he's done it straight away. He wants to get a pawn to e5. If white gets a pawn to e5, he can start a very dangerous attack. But you don't want to do this too soon because black will open up the center. So another very normal move, bringing the knight around. What do you guys think? Who's going to win? Is this going to be another draw, or are we going to see a decisive result? That was an unbelievable save by Sarana. Absolutely unbelievable. It was the biggest save so far, but it happens in blitz chess. So both sides playing very normal moves. The rook is swinging around to help prepare e4. It's trying to get the e-pawn moving up the board. Now this is walking into knight to f5. I mean, if I was white here, I'd try to do this and maybe swing my queen over to h4. You know, something like queen here, knight here, get the queen in, checkmate. He's played it more positional. He's just trying to prepare the bishop on the long diagonal now. You know, maybe the position will open up and then that bishop will come good. One thing that black has to be a little bit careful of, if black ever plays c4, white's e4 move becomes a lot stronger, because if white plays e4 now, black can start taking all these things and has pressure against d4. So black doesn't want to play c4, because if you do this move at some point, then e4 is much stronger. So I do prefer Esipenko's position after that devastating game. And now, can this maneuver work? This is what I'd like to play. Get the queen around. He's gone in the center. Whoa, this is going to heat up now. This is heating up. White is on the attack. He's on the attack here. I still prefer white's position. That knight is really strong. And look, if this bishop ever opens up, it'd be good. This is why I wanted a queen on h4, so my queen could join in the attack as well. G6, trying to get rid of that knight, but weakening the king side. This is a key position. You could even think about playing E5 here. He's played E5. God, I can't believe I'm predicting at least a couple of the moves. You can see he's angry. Look at Esipenko is like, oh, how did you draw that? I'm coming for you. And he's playing very well after that very disappointing game. I really like White's position, because you can't take that knight. If you take that knight, look at that king. That king cannot retreat, and surely you're getting checkmated here. So when a pawn gets to this square, it's so dangerous to black. This pawn is such a... Okay, so he's had to retreat now. So White is clearly better now. White must be better. He's keeping the pieces on the board. He may even consider now trying to get in on the dark squares with his pieces. You know, bringing the queen around on the dark squares, or maybe even the bishop later on. The bishop can try to get in. The problem that black has in this position, he's put his pawns on light squares. When you put your pawns on one color of squares, it makes the opposite color squares very weak. So the dark squares are very weak now. All these squares very weak for black. So White can try to get in on those squares somehow. Maybe even, you know, get the queen in or the bishop in. Problem is, if you move the bishop, you lose this pawn. Black trying to defend with everything he's got, but White is much better here. And he's got a lot of time. White's the one attacking. What does White do to increase the pressure? I still like this maneuver. Get the queen in. You need to get your queen in when you're attacking. Get the queen into the position. This looks very logical. I suppose black is defending. He's defending with all of his knights though. So it's not easy to break down. Oh, I mean, either queen d2 or queen e1. Get that queen in. Is he thinking about e6? He's having a long think here. Maybe he's thinking about this move, just to try and break the black position down a bit. I don't see... He may be thinking about e6 and knight e5. Okay, he's played a much more logical move. The bishop is now looking for g5 and getting in on those dark squares. Getting in on dark squares. This was a very interesting idea. Sack the pawn so your knight can come in to attack the queen and the king. But when you've got a good position, the rule is you don't need to sacrifice. You've got a good position anyway. Why sacrifice? There's no need to. No need to sacrifice. Just keep the pressure up. And the main idea is literally just get a piece to f6 winning. Or even now, knight to f6. Could be very good. Let's say I'm just going to put a move on the board. And if you get something like this, yeah, White loses a pawn, black would love to come back. But if you play bishop h6, the black king is now stranded in that position, and you can try to increase the pressure, and it's going to be checkmate probably quite soon. I say probably because I'm not sure. Okay, but again, you're sacrificing there. So black is trying to keep it solid. Now knight f6, very tempting, but I think he's going to... Knight f6, is knight f6 good? Like before? This looks so good for White, this position. You can also just get the queen in. Is Esipenko still going to win? He knows he's got a good position here. I think you can still see it on their faces, yeah? You can still see it on their faces. I'm just going to find out, guys, if there is an interview afterwards on the Spanish channel, because you might want to see an interview. Oh, did Spotify come up there? You might want to see an interview on the Spanish channel with the winner, and there will be on the Russian channel. So if you want to see an interview, maybe the Russian channel will be a bit tricky, because it'll be in Russian unless you speak Russian or you want to learn some Russian, even though you probably won't learn anything. If you go to the Spanish channel, and this is all the chess.com channels, you can see the winner interview. And I'm not saying there might be an Armageddon game. The only way there'd be an Armageddon game if this ends in a draw. But look, White is throwing everything at the king, but now black comes with a counter try, but he's lost his rook, he's lost the exchange. This is this I mean, if he saves this position as well, he's saved two two lost positions. Two lost positions. So he's now the exchange down. I can't see white throwing this away. Just play g4. Stop something coming to f5. Stop coming. Okay, well this is good. Just okay. He's trying to keep it very safe. Get the queens off. Black keeping the queens on, and you can see that in the blitz section, it's actually been Esipenko who's playing so much better. Please look at him. He's shaking his head. He's like, oh, I don't want to swap the queens off. And he's like, okay, he's gonna have to swap the queens off now because of bishop here. And it's a hopeless position, but he did save it last time. He's kept the queens on. That looks so risky. Queen d6 is one move. I think what black is thinking is, well, if I swap the queens off, it's easily winning for my opponent because I'm just an exchange down, and at this level that means a lot. So he's thinking my only chance is to try to keep the queens on and swindle my opponent. But now queen d6 is certainly an idea. He's played it. The queens will come off and the rooks will come off. Black's only chance is to win the pawn. Okay, he's done it this way around, but it must be winning now. Well, it's been winning for a while. Yeah, Esipenko is going to be the young world talent champion. I'm pretty sure about that. Young world talent champion, which is pretty amazing. The Leon in this brilliant competition run by the sponsors. Have a look at sponsors. They're there below at the bottom. This tournament in Spain. He's got a little bit less time. Anyone think White's going to mess this up? Anyone think he's going to mess it up? It'll be heartbreaking if he messes this up. Anyone? Well, you still get 3 seconds of move, so you shouldn't lose on time. Plocrux, no way. Anyone in the chat thinks White might mess it up a little bit like he did last time? Too many spiders. I mean, it's a very tense blitz game. Remember, I think they're also playing for 4,000 euros. The winner gets 4,000 euros as well. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. And so, you know, you get nervous. You start thinking about the money. Maybe I'll get a PlayStation, a couple of games, you know, have a holiday, you know, go to the Black Sea, chill out. So you start thinking about it. You start getting a little bit nervous. But White has the extra rook. This is the problem. And he also has an extra pawn on this side of the board. It's 3 pawns versus 2. And when you have a majority of pawns, you want to try to get a passed pawn. Or in this position, he's just taken away the squares for the black pieces. It's completely winning. I think White's going to win this. Yep, you're right in saying this bishop is bad. This is black's only hope, but I think he'll better get it out either this way, maybe a4 now, or okay, that loses a pawn. Probably put a rook on the open file. You can try to get it out this way later on. That's what I'd do. Put the pawn on a4, get the bishop there. Or maybe you go this way. You should be able to get it out. You can even go this way, combine with f4, try to get the bishop here. I can actually see the bishop being a very good piece later on. You know, jumping out to freedom. Freedom! What film's that from? Oh, one of the best films ever. I probably didn't say it very well. What's it? Freedom! Anyone? Okay. Yes, Braveheart, of course. Of course it's Braveheart. Great film. So he has put the bishop here, so his idea is to play f4. f4 is coming and he wants to get the bishop this way, but he's got 35 seconds. Careful with your time, young man. Okay, just careful with your rook. As soon as he plays this, everything's just going to open up. He's playing here, he's taking here, and if he wins this, he's going to be the champion. It'll be very interesting to see their faces. Okay, so black has had to sacrifice another pawn. He's getting desperate now. This is a desperate attempt to try and do something. White now has 3 pawns versus 1. 3 pawns for freedom. Look at the time though, 24 seconds. Oh, wouldn't it be bad if White forgot about his clock and lost on time? Oh no. Or if he disconnects. Remember, he disconnected earlier on. Oh man, imagine disconnecting now. You lose €4,000 and the chance to play next year. Mum, get off the internet. Oh, I hope his mum's not on the internet now. Pulling the router out, you know, to put the washing machine in. Don't do that. Don't do that. Get off the router. Okay, so now white is simply bringing his rook to g6 and his king is even coming in. It's completely winning. Completely winning. The only problem is 20 seconds. There's no point resigning, but you can see Esipenko very excited. He's just trying to keep his concentration. Trying to keep his concentration in the position. Just one more move is enough. And I don't... Is he going to resign? I think he might as well play on. He might as well just keep playing on. There's no point resigning. He's trying to maybe set up some trick. Is there any tricks in the position? I can't see any tricks here. Okay, so rook g6 played. He's going for this. This looks horrendously bad. It's completely lost. And now white completely winning. These pawns and rooks so strong. Here comes the pawn. Surely push the pawn. No, he's coming in this way. 22 seconds. f4. Why is he not pushing f4? Push the pawn. Philidor. The pawns are the soul of the game. They must be pushed. Push them. Push them real good. He doesn't want to push it. Is he going to try to come in with a king now? 10 seconds. And he looks so relaxed. I can't believe Sarana is just defending. And now, okay, this is his last chance. The D pawn is coming. He's trying everything, but it can't. It's still completely lost. Completely lost. I think we're going to have a champion. By the way, if you want to see the interviews of this, then do either go to the Russian chess.com channel or the Spanish chess.com channel, because I have a feeling this could be over very soon and the interviews will be on those two channels. Completely winning. These two pawns are just coming through. This is over. It's completely over unless some horrendous blunder. Esipenko is going to be the Lyon Young World Talents champion, and he's going to play in the main event last year. You can see he's about to resign. He's having a sip of coffee. You can see he's thinking about it. I think he might be resigning. Oh, he's played another move. You can just see from the body language, when is he going to resign? 15. The only way if the internet goes down, isn't it? God, that'd be so tragic. The idea, maybe bishop here, rook g8, checkmate. Oh. Was that a glimmer of hope on the eyes there? Okay, he's gone for a check. b5. Ah, dear. Oh, a nice tactic. That must finish it. If you take the rook, you take the bishop. Nice tactic there. And he's got, look, you can see his sigh of relief. And he's a whole rook down now. Yeah, it's time to resign, I feel. Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't win this one, it'd be unbelievable. So the Spanish chess.com channel is probably the one to go to if you want to see the interview, and it'd be very interesting to see their facial. I think their faces at the end of this year. I mean, white is a rook up. He just needs to avoid any knight forks, keep his cool. He's going to pick these pawns off, and he's won. Well done. We have a champion. We have a champion. And Sarana, unlucky. He doesn't look too upset. I'm sure he is on the inside, but it was such a close final. It came all the way down to the second blitz game. Esipenko looks delighted. Well, he looks half delighted. Yeah, he looks relieved more than anything. He looks relieved, as every Arsenal supporter is. And well done, congratulations. And what that means is that next year the Masters Leon Chess Festival, one of the really biggest chess festivals around. He's going to be playing in the top section. So Esipenko will be playing in the top section of that event. So well done. And I think he also wins €4,000. So you got to feel for Sarana, who got all the way there and misses out on a payday. Chess is a very cruel game, sometimes really cruel game. So it's just the way it is. So I mean, okay, so they're going over to the Spanish channel now to do their interview, if that's the case. And you can go and watch the stuff on the Spanish channel, the interviews there, as it is a Spanish competition in Leon. And Leon has this really great tournament every year. Think about going there. Certainly a tournament I love to play. Might be a bit hot for gingers at this time of year, but you know. And we come to the end of the commentary. So Esipenko goes through, wins the young talents. Who knows how strong both of these players are going to be in the future. Obviously real talents. And it's yeah. Well, thank you guys. There's not much more I'm going to say. I'm going to put you onto some little adverts and we're going to raid someone, so stay with us. I can't actually post links into the chat for the Spanish channel. I'm sure you guys can find it. You know, you'll find it. You'll be able to find it as easy as me. Google is your friend. I see this so many times. People asking, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Just Google it, my friend. And I'm going to raid someone now, so thank you so much everyone for staying here, and we're going to do a nice little raid, make someone's day. And cheers everyone for coming in. Hope you enjoyed the commentary, and I'll be back again hopefully in the future, as long as I don't get the sack. Haven't got the sack yet, which is good, you know, but who knows. Cheers, have a great weekend, and see you all soon. So oh, I can't raid. Okay, so well, I'm still here. I was trying to raid, but I can't raid. So we'll see if I get permission to do that in a second, and we're going to join with another great. I was going to raid someone, you know, make someone's day, but unfortunately, I will have to just give you a very good goodbye instead, and I'll maybe leave you on the slideshow. Maybe someone else can sort it out. Goodbye, have a great weekend. I'm going to go and have a walk in the forest now. Going to go and see a bit of the English wildlife, have a look at some squirrels, you know, look at some nice oak trees. There's some nice oak trees behind me. Get a bit of fresh air, you know, stretch those legs a little bit. So see you all later. Time for my walk. Goodbye.